All right, welcome to MazzaMedia. We are live. It's Sunday night, August 31st, 2025. Can you believe it? Once midnight hits, we're now into September already. And the summer, as you know it, is basically going bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen, which I really can't fathom, which definitely is always the most depressing part of the year. For me, I love the fall, but the summer I love so much. I'm always latching onto it. Can't really let it go. But football's coming back, which is great news. There's still some great outdoor months to come. Before you know it, it'll be Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. So we have a big show tonight. It's open court tonight. Open court with Mark Bederow, who's here tonight. Open court basically means open discussion. I'm a basketball player. We call open court basically like whatever you want to do on the basketball court. We also play off the fact that you have attorneys on this show from time to time. So basically open courts, an open discussion with an attorney. And Mark Bederow is here tonight, and we're ready to go. You guys obviously don't need Mark Bederow introduced. You've seen him on The Young Jerks. You have seen him on Nurse Kim. You've seen him on Melanie Little, The Glare, so many other shows, as well as he is currently representing, as you guys all know, Aiden Carney, Dr. Turtleboy himself. And ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while since me and him have been on a show together, but I want to welcome back to MazzaMedia from New York, Attorney Mark Bederow. Good evening, sir.
How are you? Nice to see you.
Doing awesome. Ready to go. I'm feeling energetic tonight.
Okay.
And pumped to have you back here. I see you got more coffee cups and more decorations in the back now than ever before.
What do I have back there these days? Yeah. Well, they have the little Saul Breaking Bad section.
Nice.
Somebody gave me a red Solo cup back there.
Nice.
I don't know if you can see that. It's ceramic though. It's hard. There's an original rubber duck there, sent straight from the horse's mouth, Rich in Canton, many months ago. Framed mug that was sent to me by actually that was given to me by Richie the night we all went to the Capitol Grill last year.
No kidding. That's awesome.
So yeah, I have little tchotchke collection, as they say, growing on the shelf behind me.
Nice. I see someone that says, what is it? The best lawyer to your, just over your right shoulder there. Best lawyer.
That
Yellow.
says world's second best lawyer. And if you, again, if you ever watch Better Call Saul,
okay.
Kim Wexler got that as a gift for Saul Goodman and then took out her red pen and wrote second best lawyer because, of course,
okay.
She was number one and gave Saul Goodman the world's second best lawyer.
That's
in Breaking Bad, Saul Goodman has a world's greatest lawyer or world's best lawyer mug. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is great stuff. Mark, I'm pumped up to see you here today. I know you were on Nurse Kim's earlier this morning at 9 a.m. And you basically got a double dose of Mark Bederow today. Nurse Kim's show, MazzaMedia. We're happy to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So let's talk about a few different things here. So we have a couple different directions we can go on. It'll be open discussion all night. If anybody in the chat has any questions for Mark throughout the show, we'll try to grab them and post them on the screen for you when we see them and ask a few questions. I want to start off tonight. Why don't we start off with something a little bit more Hollywoodish to get going here? Elizabeth Banks was recently announced to play Karen Reed. As we know, this is pretty much an unauthorized by Karen casting choice. So I wanted to talk about you though, and your idea. We throw around a couple ideas a lot, which is basically who would play who in a movie. And recently I saw a photo of Matthew Broderick and Alan Ruck, and I said to myself, man, Alan Ruck looks just like maybe like an older version of, right. Yeah, he does. It's crazy. And then I'm looking at Matthew Broderick. I'm like, I would prefer Kevin Pollak, but I could think Matthew Broderick might be able to pull it off. So who would play you in the movie?
Well, I don't think I would be in the Karen Reed movie. But if we're playing this game, the joke I always make is people used to tell me Charlie Sheen years ago, but the hair is shorter, it's grayer, and whatnot. So maybe we've moved past prime troubled Charlie Sheen years, but it could be worse than Kevin Pollak. That's okay. I've heard some other jokes of people, Danny DeVito. No, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm actually much taller than Danny DeVito and much thinner and much younger, but thank you for that concern. Pollack's okay, but I'm sticking with Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen's your choice. Yeah, I'm thinking. I don't know. I like Kevin Pollak because I think he was a great actor in A Few Good Men, and I
Yep.
see that vibe a little bit where he could play you, and he has the acting chops, and he's very smart. You're a very intelligent man. Kevin Pollak was like he was really like the smart guy on the team in A Few Good Men. And I'm like, I can think better of him.
He's a good supporting guy. He also had that role in Casino where he was kind of the figurehead casino manager, if you remember.
Yes.
That was the placeholder for De Niro to do his stuff. But yeah, Pollack's okay, but Charlie Sheen, what the hell?
Right, exactly. Like people said to me, like, who's going to play Mazza in a movie? And I think somebody said The Rock, and I'm like, he's a bit old to play me, but people are like, well, he's tall, he could play you. I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's good. I think I'm tough to cast. I really do. I think I'm kind of a.
I'd say Fred Gwynn if he was still alive, but I don't know. Not Herman Munster.
No.
Two youth version, maybe.
Right. Yeah. You have Herman Munster play me, or I'd be a pretty good pick as Adam Driver possibly. He's kind of like Kylo Ren. Maybe he could play me a little bit. So you got to have a little bit of the ethnic look to go with this face, a little bit, some height. So I think he checks off both boxes.
I wouldn't know on either score.
That's all right. That's all good. So let's talk about what's going to be one of our primary purposes of a discussion tonight, which is Michael Proctor and what's going on with that. And I think obviously, they're trying. He wants to try to petition for his job back, and he has some things to say about it. Just what's been your impression about that so far from what you've caught? Give us some of your thoughts.
I mean, I haven't watched it religiously or much at all. I've seen the news reports. I'm certainly aware that he's going through, the civil service protection that he has to attempt to do it. He's got a union supporting him, which is fine. To me, it's all a joke. The reality is, if he were to get his job back, which I don't believe he will, but if he were, he's useless as a police officer. He can't police again. He's just, you can't put him out on the street. You can't let him do anything. Really, just for the public's protection and frankly his own. I mean, he's just such a pariah at this point. So I think what he would be doing is doing this to get some back pay, and would probably resign the next day unless he wants to, muck out the stall in the toilets and they're framing him headquarters, which is the only job I think they would even be willing to give him if they were forced to at this point.
Right.
I don't fault him for trying. He has the due process right to do it. I question perhaps the wisdom of him doing it, just kind of rehashing all of his greatest hits of just patheticism, and with everything that he's done, even since he was terminated. As I said to Kim earlier today, I mean, the guy went on TV and with that dopey, blank, straight look ahead, told millions of people watching, I wouldn't do anything different. I don't know if they're using that against him in his, in his hearing, but that's kind of frightening if there's nothing that you would do different. So I think it's in the public interest that he doesn't get his job back. I don't fault him for trying, but I think he just should go away. He's unqualified. He's unfit for duty. Everyone historically with him, based on the communications you've seen, is the problem, right? Alan Jackson is an asshole. David Yannetti, he had words to say. Karen Reed, we know what he said about Karen. We know what he said about the medical examiner. We know what he said about Aiden in some of his communications. It just might be you, Mr. Proctor, who is the asshole and probably should go away. But he's entitled to due process. Let him go through it. He's not going to be an active duty state trooper ever again, whatever happens. So practically speaking, he's never going to really do any police work again.
Right. Absolutely. And then beyond that too, like what my theory is, this was a thought I had on one of my previous shows recently, was in regards to the fact that he's kind of the middleman in all of this, in my opinion. You have the DA's office, you have the Massachusetts State Police, then you have Proctor right in the middle. He's kind of bridges the gap between the state police and the Canton Police. Then you have Proctor. So you have the DA, Massachusetts State Police, Proctor, the Canton Police, then the McAlberts. And that's kind of, to me, the hierarchy in all of this. And it's my opinion that probably in retrospect, he thought that he was going to have the backing and support of all these parties that were above him. And then he did. And then what my opinion is that they cut the middleman out to basically save themselves from further scrutiny. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there is a PR component to it. The man is a cancer, in the sense of the dishonor that he's brought to the department. And if you are the colonel or whoever is running this operation, you want him gone, whether he's just expendable or not. But the reality is he's much worse than just what he did to Karen. I mean, you didn't hear from him recently, but you heard about him in that other case, that King case, with his non-disclosure of evidence between him and Lally, who were like frickin' frack with the way they get together and don't disclose evidence. He's just not qualified for any serious position of responsibility in a state police unit of a DA's office, where his primary function is interfacing with the public and working on murder cases. He's not qualified. He's unfit. He doesn't have the disposition. He doesn't have, I don't think, the emotional maturity. He doesn't have the seriousness of purposeness. He doesn't have the professionalism. He needs to go. And, his own words, if you believe what he said during Karen's trial, which most people don't, but if you even take him at face value, if you recall, he said, well, I acted the way I did because I was emotionally upset about what happened to John O'Keefe. Now, anybody would be upset about, an innocent man being killed, certainly a brother police officer. I think we can all appreciate that. But if you're investigating a homicide and you're so emotionally upset in your work that it leads you to do the things that you did and say the things you said in Karen's case because you're too emotional, then you're still not qualified to be a police officer because, I don't want to say this insensitively, but in terms of shock value, when you work on homicides, and I've been involved with them on both sides of the equation, when you do this for a living, they're all serious, they're all traumatic, they're all bothersome, but some are emotionally more traumatizing than others. If you saw something where you had a brutal murder of a young child, I mean, that just hits you different than anything else. And, by all accounts, Michael Proctor's belief was that John O'Keefe was killed by a car accident, which is not good, but that's not something that, again, if you believe him, should make a police officer so traumatized and so out of control that he can't control himself from talking about accepting bribes for his family, talking about balloon knots, talking about wanting defendants to harm themselves, and so on and so on and so on. And we haven't even decided, whether he planted evidence or not. So I think all of this is just another stain on the whole Norfolk County system, the whole Massachusetts system, and that it's in everyone's interest for Proctor to just go and like the famous speech in England before Churchill took over about Neville Chamberlain, right? Just go for for God's sakes, man, just the love of God, just go. I'm butchering the famous quote.
Right.
You get the point. I think it originally comes from Oliver Cromwell, but anyway, the point is just go. Everyone will be better if Michael Proctor just disappears from anything to do with law enforcement in Massachusetts or anywhere else.
Right. And I think that's what kind of my thought too, is that they wanted to cut him out of there just to kind of save themselves. Like we have to distance ourselves from him as much as possible and prevent us, because what it is that the Massachusetts State Police, there's a lot of their hands are in this. I mean, let's not, we know that there's other members of the Massachusetts State Police that were involved in this. We also know they have.
Oh yeah. There's other members of the Massachusetts State Police from the Norfolk DA's office who are going to have issues related to evidence and whatnot. And, you may see some of that coming up soon in a different case. But yeah, this is not a Proctor issue where if you throw him out with the bathwater, everything's fine. Far from it. But, let's be honest, this guy is become the poster child corruption in law enforcement, certainly in Massachusetts, arguably beyond. And, let his lawyers do their thing. Let him attempt to get some back pay, but just go away.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Sorry, my screen was just glitching just a little bit there, but yeah, absolutely. He needs to go away. And additionally, there needs to be some serious charges. And that's what bothers me about all of this is that recently, as you know, Sergeant Fahey out of the Connecticut State Police had a run-in with a content creator named Sean Paul Reyes, who approached his door. This officer told him to leave the property. And then Fahey went back in his house and came out of his house with a gun, pursued, basically, bulldogged Sean Paul Reyes off his property, had a gun in his hand and spit in his face. Now, this officer ended up resigning and now was recently arrested. And that's kind of, I was worried that this whole thing down in Connecticut was going to go similar to what's happened here in Massachusetts with holding these officers accountable. However, Connecticut ended up holding Fahey accountable and has actually had him arrested for disorderly conduct. And to me, I was very gratified to see that because it shows that these state police departments are going to hold officers accountable when they think of themselves to be above the law. And one of those things that has run rampant in Massachusetts, primarily in the Karen Reed case, and primarily in a case that quite a bit about as well with Aiden Carney, aka Turtle Boy, it seems like a lot of these officers can do whatever they want, whenever they want. And there's no accountability. They can literally be above the law.
Well, I don't want to be cynical. You want to hope that the Connecticut authorities did the right thing, but there is kind of a big difference. It's on video.
Yeah.
And in many ways that changes changes everything. The whole dynamic changes when the public has access to a video where you see a guy who is a state trooper acting like a complete lunatic, screaming repeatedly, "Get off my property." The guy is calm. He's leaving. As a sidebar to this whole thing, it's a hell of a long driveway from the video I saw.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of property.
Like the Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah. But and spits in his face. And, that's all on video. He clearly, if anything else, people can agree, argue about, what he should have been charged with or not. But I think we can all agree, guy's a lunatic. I mean, he's an unhinged lunatic.
Yeah.
Firearm screaming at this guy. And, he's making the confrontation worse. He's escalating, not de-escalating. And he's the one who's unhinged. The man is leaving his property. The guy who's screaming like a lunatic has a firearm. And, at least when I first saw the video, I didn't know a lot of the story. And I sat there wondering, is this video going to end with a corpse on the ground?
Right.
Over something so nothing. So, the fact that this guy is no longer a police officer, again, that's a good thing. Spitting in his face, waving a gun around, threatening him the way he did. I don't think anybody's losing any sleep that this guy got arrested and charged with something.
Right.
I mean, very unhinged behavior, just real unstable and ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a sickening video. And again, it was, video I caught my attention very quickly when Turtle Boy posted it on his channel. And after reviewing that, I'm like, wow, this is out of control. And I can see why Aiden, identified with that so much based on the experiences that he has had. And obviously, we don't need to delve into that too much because we know all about it. But it was very disturbing because it just shows you like what is the protocol for a content creator against someone who's in a position of power, whether that be a state police officer or a local police officer. So I'm extremely satisfied with how Connecticut is pursuing this entire thing. I still think that Michael Proctor deserves a lot more stricter punishment than what he's received from the state police. It seems to me like this is more of like saving face than them actually trying to really, basically, I want to use the right terminology here. It doesn't sound too controversial. I'll just say stick a fork in him in a more thorough way that basically gives him a criminal penalty for the way he conducted himself on that crime, on that crime scene and in that criminal investigation.
Well, look, if you believe that he planted evidence in a state murder case, which a lot of people do, then he would be guilty of a federal civil rights crime if he intentionally, while in his capacity as a police officer, intentionally violated the civil rights of a person. The problem is believing that and proving it beyond a reasonable doubt by a federal prosecutor are two totally different things. I mean, I'm not that surprised that no one ever prosecuted him, just because they're not the Norfolk DA. They do require substantial proof and closing loopholes before they just throw mud at the wall and prosecute, like you see in Norfolk County.
Right.
What they did with Karen, it's certainly my view. They're just prosecuting Aiden to stifle his speech and silence and whatnot, and that's not a professional way to run a DA's office, and that's why people who live there should, as they say, throw the bums out and put some new people in to hopefully do it better. But even if there is some degree of evidence that Proctor did something, you need a lot more before a federal prosecutor is going to run in and criminally prosecute a police officer for literally planting evidence. Having said that, there is a pretty strong argument based upon what you saw in the trial of a few months ago, that if the science in the case and the engineering in the case pretty much establish a strong belief that there was no collision between Lexus and John O'Keefe, then it begs the question, how the hell did 40 some odd pieces of taillight end up scattered all over the place? How did part of a drinking glass or a different piece of glass that doesn't match that Proctor found end up on the taillight and it's not the drinking glass? There's certainly a lot of fodder to believe that he did something dirty, but I can't say that I'm surprised that they didn't actually go all the way and prosecute him, whether they should have or shouldn't.
Right. That's what bothers me the most, is I just feel like, as we all do, and you obviously share in this, I'm more than confident that there's too many people that were involved in this that aren't getting penalized in the way they should. It seems to me like even what's happening to Proctor right now, even what he's appealing right now, is all things that's just like he says, political reasons. Well, I mean, in a sense, it's not too far off, because politically, the Massachusetts State Police is trying to clean up its own image. And when somebody gets dirt on their hands in a public fashion, where they're going to try to cleanse that, but they're only going to cleanse it as much as they can to save face. It doesn't appear that they're ever going to go the whole distance on someone like him or anybody else. Like they'll send Tully to a different, they'll rehome him. They'll rehome Yuri, but they won't necessarily fire those other guys. They won't necessarily do other things yet. But
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
We shall see. We shall see. I feel confident in your response there, Mr. Bederow, I will say. Okay.
I just work here and serve at the pleasure of management,
Correct. Nothing to take away from that whatsoever, but definitely. Another thing that bothers me too is just the crime scene itself with the lack of security footage. This was another thing that was discussed recently. I believe Karen and Alan Jackson just discussed it, about the security camera footage, and there basically being none. And that just is, like, we're talking about Sergeant Fahey. You just said it yourself. The footage is damning. And once that footage gets out there, that's it. And now it's up to public opinion. But if there's no footage, then it's a he said, she said, which is really what they tried to kind of put Karen and her defense team in, which is basically Karen's defense team says something, the prosecution says something else. And that's where we look at this and say to ourselves, come on. They tampered with footage all over the place. They had to. Across the street. Yeah.
Look, the idea that there was no video, even in 2022, it's only 3 years ago. So many people have Ring cameras, whatnot. The idea that there's all this other missing surveillance camera, there's missing Ring camera footage at John O'Keefe's house. Other things too. You never heard any testimony at either trial about the police doing the most basic police investigation of all, which is called a neighborhood canvass, which is just police talk for knocking on doors and saying, did you see anything? I mean, how the hell did they never do that? So there's a lot of things that they didn't look at and they didn't know. And, you know, they didn't want to know, clearly, right? Because they had their defendant. It was what it was. That's what they were going to do. They did her dirty, and ultimately they got burned. And, you know, the aftermath of that is still playing out, both, you know, in other criminal cases, you'll see, in civil cases that are at least happening right now. And I imagine in civil cases where Karen and her people will be in even more of a position of strength because they'll be the plaintiffs. And at some point, they're going to, you know, take depositions of people who probably very much don't want that.
Right. Let's start to talk about civil suits and all of that. I mean, how many different parties do you think that Karen Read, I mean, do you estimate they might pursue? I mean, the Massachusetts State Police, obviously, DA's office, you know, do you think they start going after individual cops as well beyond the state?
I mean, if you believe it's going to be a, you know, what they call a 42 USC 1983 civil rights lawsuit, which I imagine it would be, although I don't know. That would really, again, those are civil rights violations. At that point, you're talking for certainly people in the state police, Proctor, all those.
Yeah.
Much trickier when it comes to the prosecutors because they have a form of what we call qualified immunity. It's not absolute, but generally the system doesn't want prosecutors getting sued and held accountable for the decisions that they make because nobody wants to have every prosecutor getting sued by every defendant who gets acquitted or a case gets dismissed. So you'd have to determine whether they're acting in their investigative or prosecutorial function. There is kind of an end around where they could bring the DA's office into a federal lawsuit, like Morissey in his official capacity, Lally in his official capacity, the office itself. I mean, if they're able to allege that they have negligent supervision in the way they handle the office as it relates to their handling and policies of disclosing exculpatory evidence and doing things of that nature, that it's called a Monell claim. They potentially could do that. The thing that stuck out to me about, I thought maybe why they might strongly consider that, and maybe they still will, I don't know, is when you saw Lally testify several weeks ago.
Right.
In that King case. I mean, he was essentially writing the plaintiff's civil complaint on a Monell claim about a DA's office that is just wandering aimlessly with no soul and no policy and no mechanism, no best practice in anything, no supervision at all. So, I mean, I'm curious to see how they do it. But I would imagine certainly the state police and some of those guys, and depending on how aggressive they get with a Monell claim, potentially Morissey in his official capacity, which, you know, that's what they want.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the Moby Dick of this. He's the great white. So, you know, literally and figuratively, perhaps, that they want to bring into this. But, you know, they'll have to decide whether they have the ammunition to do that.
And that's what, you know, Alan Jackson seemed a little perturbed by, you know, this past week in his interview that he conducted, was that he was not being able to touch Michael Morissey because of that level of immunity. It's very frustrating.
It's a common thing. I mean, anytime you have an exonerated client, an acquitted client who was subjected to any civil rights violation, the natural frustration of any lawyer is, you know, what are we going to do about the DA? And you often hear lawyers talk about lobbying and possible legislation to remove, you know, absolute or qualified immunity from prosecutors. But again, the pushback is so much frivolous. This would not be frivolous, of course, but you want to deter just frivolous litigation from jailhouse lawyers and people who have nothing better to do to pass time than just suing prosecutors. I mean, it's not a good thing generally to think that prosecutors should be sued at will. But every now and then you get a case like this where you say, my God, these people should be held accountable if they have the goods. But, to me, that's either a Monell claim or Morissey's off the hook. It's one of the two.
Right. That's what's sad. Again, that's what's so disturbing is that Morissey can basically sit up there like he's Darth Vader and send his stormtroopers to do all the dirty work, and then basically not be held accountable. And I guess that's what really frustrates all of us the most.
People need to realize too, though, even if Morissey and the DA's office are held accountable, the loser financially in this is all of you, the taxpayers.
Yeah.
Michael Morissey is not digging into his personal piggy bank if the judgment is awarded for millions of dollars against the DA's office in their official capacity. The loser, once again, will be the screwed Massachusetts taxpayers who would have had the irony of paying a couple of $1 million for Brennan and his people, and then, for the misconduct of Morissey, if it were to go that way. So, it's a mess. Nobody should think that a lawsuit is going to bankrupt Morissey or any of these people personally. It's not going to.
Right. What was your reaction when Michael Morissey in those emails was asking for $1 million to basically finance a second attempt to throw Karen Reed behind bars? What was your reaction to all that besides laughter?
I mean, what shocks you with what they do at all? I mean, I have an interesting take about, his use of his personal email. It's actually our vigorous defense of Aiden which brought this to light. If we don't file papers demanding emails from him because we were provided information not from them but from a private third party that he was using his personal email, none of this would ever come out. None of you would ever know that he was doing this. We then sought, as much of his email last year. We get drips and drafts, and of course it all gets impounded or sealed. That's how it works in this particular case. But my first reaction was, why don't we get these thousands of pages of emails, much of which are discoverable in our case, but at the same time, we're being told these have to be held under seal or impounded or protective order. The other half of the DA's office is publicly releasing them to, in response to a Freedom of Information Act request. So, but beyond that, the next reaction is he's got to be using his personal email address in the way he is to avoid FOIA disclosure, which you can't literally hide from a FOIA disclosure by using private email. But if people request things, someone in the DA's office is responsible for gathering them. And if they have no reason to believe that all your communications are on a private server, they're never going to ask for them. Right. Now, everybody knows that Morissey uses his iCloud account, and every FOIA request to that office and every demand should include his personal emails and all these other things. But to see him, begging with hat in hand for $1 million or whatever it is to pay Hank Brennan when he had, in his mind, competent prosecutors. I mean, he had the same employee try the case twice, maybe a little less the second time than the first time. But so he clearly had no conflict of interest, right? He let his people do it, 2 of them even from the first trial. And to then bilk the taxpayers for another $1 million to bring in a ringer, and then bilk them more to bring in, these so-called experts who basically put lipstick on a pig with some state police work and, gave it to more credentialed experts, but it's the same nonsense science experiments, whatever you want to call it. These people should not be allowed to be in charge of the taxpayers' piggy bank when it comes to law enforcement.
Right.
It's just outrageous the amount of money that they spent on the case. And it's not because they lost. I mean, prosecutors lose trials, and sometimes they lose trials that they should have won, or sometimes, a guilty person gets off. But this case was so flawed, such a waste, a colossal waste of money. And you have a large office of people capable of doing it without a conflict. So why are you spending more taxpayer money to bring in a hand-selected ringer? I mean, it's just, it's part of the scandal that no one, in the mainstream media ever asked, which I don't understand. And these candidates for DA don't really press enough. I mean, part of their argument really should be, not just that the office is in crisis for their inability to disclose evidence, their inability to do the right thing and whatever, but as a DA, you're a figurehead and you're in charge of setting policy, being credible in the eyes of the public, budgeting, things of that. And he stinks at that too. So what, if anything, does he do well that warrants being anointed DA for life, essentially? So the answer is you just get rid of him. I mean, and I don't even think he's going to run personally, but
I don't think so either. I think he's going to drop off and just do the whole retiring angle and then walk out the door, and then that's it. With the issue too, like you talked about Aiden's case, Karen's case with Morissey's emails, the iCloud account is really the only personal email that we truly have seen so far. But then you have this other, was it banana, whatever account? Who knows what in the world? I mean, I don't even want to know, but
I don't know what that cheesy banana or banana bread. I don't know. I mean, I've heard about it. I've never seen it. I mean, we're certainly aware of the iCloud, as I said, a year ago, approximately. To see him writing the highest officials in the state court system complaining about Turtle Boy and doing something on his private email was just incredible. Now that you've seen these publicly released emails where he's bitching and moaning to the attorney general about this on his private email, he's forwarding stuff from his work email to his private email. So he clearly knows, it's not an accident. It's not like hitting the wrong account on your iPhone or anything like that. It's just one scandal after the other. And the problem with him is he doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt.
No, not at all. He's shameless. Yeah, he needs to run on a treadmill. It's hilarious. I think. It's have you ever seen a DA as controversial as this one in all your experiences, specifically in the realm of court that you've practiced in, meaning, whatever districts or whatnot that you...
Absolutely. Charles Hines, former Brooklyn DA, corrupt to his core. Brooklyn, for a while, became the poster child in New York for wrongful convictions, Brady violations. You've probably heard me say this on other shows to other people. To me, if you were to play word association and say like Norfolk County DA, my knee-jerk reaction would be Charles Hines, Brooklyn DA's office, up until about 10 years ago when he finally lost. He was under federal investigation in the Eastern District of New York. They had just scandal after scandal. So I have seen it. I hate to say it, but I have seen this movie and been involved in some very, very contentious cases in Brooklyn and other parts of New York. But yeah, I would say in my experience, certainly Norfolk is, top two for sure, right there with the Hines DA, Brooklyn DA's office.
Have you ever seen a DA so invested in trying to shut down someone like Aiden Turtle Boy, as much as you've seen that happen to him? Have you ever seen anything similar to that in any way, shape, or form? A news reporter, journalist, content creator, anything at all?
No, that I've never seen. Obviously, you don't get a license to commit crime because of your profession, meaning, lawyers commit crimes, journalists can commit crimes. Everyone, no ring light. Come on, Kelly.
I had to post that one for you. Yeah, I had to post that. No, I saw that comment.
I don't have a microphone. I don't have a ring light. I'm on my Apple computer, just doing my best. What was I talking about? I lost my train of thought.
We got a little sidetracked there. We talked about Morissey, then we talked about Aiden.
Journalism. So the idea that you would go after a journalist again, if you have reason to believe that a journalist is stealing, they killed someone, or is committing crimes, you do it. I mean, again, you don't get a hall pass because I'm a journalist. But when you go after a journalist for activity that arises out of their reporting and, in fact, breaking the largest criminal case scandal we've seen in America probably in the last 20 or 30 years, probably since O.J. Simpson, and he's responsible for bringing that to public attention. That's bad enough. The next thing that you would never see, and Morissey recognizes this because he hired a special prosecutor. The last thing you would do is say, I'm going to prosecute a journalist who attacks me for being corrupt, because that doesn't look retaliatory at all, right?
No.
So Morissey recuses himself ostensibly, but not really, right? I mean, look at the emails, right? He's obsessed with Turtle Boy, and calling all these people. But the problem is the state police don't recuse themselves, and they work in the Norfolk DA's office. So the conflict remains. So the lead investigator on Aiden's case is Tully, who he has called corrupt. They basically invent these ticky-tack fake charges for, Michael Proctor and Yuri Buchanan, who he calls corrupt and hates for their for their conduct in the Karen Reed case, by having these guys say, "Oh my God, I feel intimidated by him," which is absurd on its face. So, have I ever seen such just ass backwards professional judgment and a lack of self-awareness by anyone on a prosecution team to go after him? No. If you wanted to go after him, you needed to send it out to someone else. Now, he tried with the Attorney General, who apparently told him to pound sand, right? I mean, they didn't want to do it. Most notably, I assume, because going after journalists for reporting, whether you think he's obnoxious or not, is generally bad form. But no, other than this, I have never seen a situation where a prosecutor's office, and I'm including the state police contingent within that office. No, I mean, this is just one of one for sure.
Right. And this is a huge comment here. It says it wasn't intimidation. It was the fear of being exposed. I think that's what it's all about all along, is they didn't like the fact, I think two things about Aiden. Not only did Aiden have a way of pursuing getting information, but he had a lot of information that they knew very damn well that was accurate because his sources were legitimate, and that intimidated. Well, not intimidated, exposed.
I won't get into details, but you're going to see in a couple of weeks. Well, we're going to lay this all out, chronologically with sourced facts about what's going on here. And what's going on here is that the case against Karen Reed was up until April 18th, I think it was, 2023, pretty mundane, ordinary vehicular homicide case where people generally assumed, wow, it sounds like some crazy drunk lady, ran over her boyfriend and this is terrible. Case did have some publicity, obviously. I mean, Karen is who she is. John O'Keefe, police officer. I mean, suburban county, you're going to get some attention. But the reality is the whole world changed in the Norfolk DA's office and in certain residences in Canton and elsewhere on April 18th of 2023, when a certain somebody published an article about this. And from that moment on, they were in get Turtle Boy mode within days. And we can prove that, by the way. And we'll prove that that there was an obsession with forcing the DA's office to do something at the behest of private citizens, which is something else you will never see anywhere else. And let's be clear, we're not talking about a DA's office based in, Hazard County, Georgia, right? Where there's two DAs and a boss hog, and, they do everything. So they eat dinner with Roscoe and decide what he wants to do, that sort of thing, right? This is a large DA's office. And you're going to see that behind the scenes, that the people who were feeling upset by this reporting, which named all of them. I mean, again, it relied on a publicly filed court motion. That's what reporters do. That's called good reporting. You can agree or not agree with what he did. You can agree or not agree that he's not being fair to these people. But these people, and I understand that they're upset. I get it. I mean, nobody wants to be called the things they're called, whether it's true or not. But they went into quick take action mode, pressuring the DA to take action, to do things, to say things that you would never see anywhere else. And a perfect example of that is that ludicrous hostage video,
Yeah.
which is one of the most unethical things I've ever seen a prosecutor do in my life, to give that speech which was on behalf of private citizens. Okay,
Right.
that was the DA speaking.
Right.
That was a lawyer advocating for people who were demanding behind the curtain that he do things and forcing him to advance their agenda, which is just outrageous and not something that a DA should do. You don't represent the witnesses, right? Now, by the way, the witnesses all had lawyers. It would have been, I don't know if they had them back then, in all fairness, but maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But it would have been, excuse me, more than appropriate if a lawyer on behalf of certain members of the Albert or McCabe family decided at that point to say, the hell with this. This is ridiculous. Get off their back. That's their lawyer. But for the chief law enforcement officer, the prosecutor in a murder case, not quite a murder case at that point, or yes, it was a murder case at that point, to come out and make these ridiculous statements that he did, both about Karen in defense of, members of the Albert McCabe families, Michael Proctor. It's like he's on a puppet strings being told what to do. It just absolutely ridiculous. You'd never see that anywhere else. You'll never see that again. But that's what led to all of this, and they will not let go, as you know. So we just keep going, and we'll expose all this in due course. It's coming.
How is your? You don't have to get too much into it, but how is your transition into joining Tim Bradel and just kind of immersing yourself into that defense team and partnering with him in this effort?
Very fortunate. I obviously did not know Tim at all, and vice versa. So we had no professional relationship. So that was, what you would call an arranged marriage, if you will. When you have that, we've all had that as lawyers, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There can be egos, personalities, whatnot. We are very fortunate that, I couldn't ask for a better co-counsel colleague. We become very good friends. We get along great. We throw ideas off each other. He does this, I do that. There's just a complete flow, complete cohesion, talk all the time, regularly. It couldn't be better, which is fortunate, because that's not always the case. So we're very fortunate, and more importantly, the client is more fortunate that you have lawyers that are, pulling the rope in the same direction to do the right thing and get along really well. So it's been great.
That's awesome. I think it's
and he sent me other business. So, this is a win, right? People need
one-to-one, it's all great. That's how partnership should work, is you have those references and all that. Now, when you first joined up with Tim Bradel, when you guys first started defending Aiden together, was there some ideas he had of aspects of the defense that he did he have any ideas that he, hey, I want you to kind of deal with this stuff, deal with that stuff? Or did you maybe come in and say, I have a few aspects I'd like to deal with? Kind of, how did you guys kind of arrange who would deal with what? I'm curious.
I don't even remember, to tell you the truth. It's an easy flow, and it's a collaborative effort on this and that in terms of what we do. Obviously, I've come to learn now, as Tim has a very strong niche in First Amendment type stuff and is very passionate about that. So it's natural that, him and Aiden would connect when he got arrested, because, that they share that same mindset about a strong First Amendment and, not oppressing freedom of speech and whatnot. I share that view as well. But, we have some things we've talked about with, certain witnesses and who would do this and who would do that. But I won't share that. But, there's always a plan for, different characters. And as if there are trials in any one of the, 37 cases pending against him, whatever it is, some of those witnesses, you divide them up.
Right.
There is a method to the madness, like there is in any situation. But the good news is that the arranged marriage is perfect, and that's great. That's better for the lawyers, it's better for the client, and it's so much better to be involved in a representation problem, especially one as crazy as this. When everybody likes everyone and gets along and laughs and just shares, intellectually, personally, and all that, it makes it so much easier to just get through this craziness.
That's awesome. And with Aiden as your client, he must almost be like Karen Reed is to her defense team, an extension of that defense team where they're very intelligent. They have a lot of details. He knows all the nuts and bolts. He's pretty good at record keeping from what I can tell in his journaling on his website. So how has it been working with Aiden as well?
He's a handful, as you know. It's unique. It's different. Again, he's an active journalist and an active entertainer who speaks out publicly for a living, right? And it would be very easy to say, you can't do this, right? My advice is you just lock down, hide in the closet, and say nothing. But that's his livelihood. So on some level, you have to balance when you kind of try to step in and say, I don't think we should be doing this. Or when you try to say, I'm the criminal lawyer, I don't really want to step on toes about, what you're doing here or those kinds of things. But it is, I will certainly say, a unique representation, unlike anything I've ever seen. It can be challenging at times, but as a lawyer, you also want clients who are invested in their own defense and take an interest in that and want to be involved and have input. And he does that, and certainly from the limited time, I was around Karen, observing them and everything else the same way. People had said how brilliant she was and what a walking encyclopedia about her own case she was. That's all true from what I saw. And, that's good when you have heavy cases like this, that you have clients who are invested, because that's not always the case. I mean, I have many who just say, make this go away, and I'm going to go hide under the covers and let me know when to come out. And, from a lawyer's standpoint, sometimes you like that, sometimes you just want to be yourself and do your own thing. I don't know if that's the right phraseology, but I think you catch the point. But in cases like this, you want an active, engaged client who's invested in everything you're doing, who is intelligent and knows what they're doing. And that's certainly the case here.
Right. We talked about just how the DA's office has tried to, basically put the shackles on certain individuals such as Aiden. I want to talk a bit about something that's a little bit more personal for you as an individual and professionally, as someone that has also appeared on many, many shows and really had in this realm of Karen Reed and Turtle Boy a reputation of talking on shows about all the subject matter. Now, you had been heavily involved in the process of joining Karen Reed's defense team this past spring. It was definitely extremely frustrating for you and every single one of us to see you were not allowed to join that team. In terms of the judge, I don't know how much you can even answer to this, and if you can't answer it, that's no problem at all. That's just going to be a question I'd like to ask, and whatever you can't answer, it's perfectly fine. Do you feel like there was any kind of, I'm just going to say it, collusion, any intimidation of you as someone that they knew? I mean, you're basically coming in like an ace, like Nolan Ryan or Roger Clemens on the Karen Reed's defense team there. And do you feel like there was any level of, we need to make sure that this guy is not on this defense team at all costs because he's a major threat to battling the DA's office, prosecution, et cetera?
I don't know that there's any collusion, and I'm not going to allege it because I have no basis to know it. What I can tell you is Judge Cannoni was wrong. She didn't do the proper evaluation that needed to be conducted. It was offered to her to allow me to meet with her in what we call, ex parte, without the other side knowing, and answer any questions that she might have had in perceiving a possible not actual. I mean, I know things obviously that other people don't know from talking to one and keeping that confidential and talking to the other and keeping that confidential. But as was put in the affirmation at the time, there was no actual conflict. These people who have these conspiracy theories about these two people they're going to turn on each other, you're delusional. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what things are. That wasn't the case. There are other mechanisms in place that could have been dealt with that, and she just decided, I'm not doing it. So so is there any collusion about that? I don't know. As far as the other guy, Brennan, he's a dirtbag. Okay.
Yeah.
He said, and I don't care about his non-objection objection. I care about the substance of it. He absolutely, without any basis in fact, made statements that strongly implied, or worse, that I had shared communication as a vessel of communication from A to B and B to A. And he had no basis to say that. It was absolutely untrue. He even made a statement where he was alleging that I filed a motion and used this materials. He never backed that up because he was wrong. Okay. It wasn't true. We did redact all that type of information. And, he had a lot of courage to say it in court, where lawyers know you get immunity for the statements you say in court. If he had said outside of court in an affirmative way that, I had passed information in violation of my professional and ethical responsibilities from Karen to Aiden or vice versa, I would have sued him. Okay.
Yeah.
There's no basis for him to say that. It was absolutely false. We saw throughout the course of that, around that time of Karen's case, he made all kinds of ridiculous statements about the defense and their disclosure obligations. He made absolutely ridiculous statements about David Yannetti, who's one of the finest lawyer gentlemen I've ever met in my life, about him making out-of-court statements because he couldn't determine that the Chiron on some Zoom appearance that he thought was him on court TV, and he barely apologized about that. It was just a gross experience, okay? And the idea that I was there to do anything other than to help Karen win by examining witnesses and exposing them for the not credible witnesses that they were, that's all it was. So the idea that this was that I was there to share information or do anything is personally offensive.
Yeah.
And Brennan, if he was more of a man, he would have said that on the street and backed it up with some facts rather than hiding behind, a litigation privilege in a courtroom while saying at the same time, I don't object, Your Honor. He's doing things he shouldn't do, but I don't object.
Right. I thought
it's gutless.
Yeah. I thought you got entirely robbed. It was just kind of like, oh man, you're going to represent Karen. We're going to lose you from all the shows. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I kind of feel like, we got to, let Mark do his thing and respect that. Cause I was hyped up, as you can imagine.
I was excited.
I know.
Hey, listen, if you do this for a living, you want to try the interesting cases. I have plenty of other interesting ones, both in New York and Massachusetts. I'll be fine, whatever. But, you certainly don't want your livelihood being impacted by a prosecutor who is making reckless or intentionally false statements and a judge who is just denying something out of hand without really giving me the opportunity, which was offered to her, to explain any concerns about why you think there could be a potential conflict between these two, why I can, assuage you of those concerns. And she just out of hand denied it, which was wrong. Whatever, it is what it is. She did it. She's the judge. You move on to the next battle. Karen got acquitted. Everybody wins. And, that's that.
Question here from Leia. Did Brennan ever file a motion or just spew his mouth in court?
No, it's not. No. He made statements in court without any basis in fact to do so, did not file a motion, specifically said he wouldn't, and just, let the judge do what she did. And, that was that.
Yeah. it was heart wrenching. I was like I said, I was fired up to see you on that team. I thought you would have obviously, contributed, what was I going to say, an invaluable amount of knowledge and assistance to that defense team. I was happy they got the job done nonetheless. But, I think too, it was still great to have you on the shows, though. I always say we needed two versions of Mark Bederow. We needed you on Karen's defense team, plus we needed another version of you on the show.
They wouldn't let me be involved in the case, and I was not subject to a gag order, so whatever.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you can answer this question, but I'm going to ask because I'm curious. Do you know who you would have cross-examined or even direct examined?
Yeah. Mostly. I mean, not 1,000%, but yeah. I mean, there was a plan, but it doesn't matter because that plan was handled by the incredible lawyers that are already there. I mean, that's beauty. I mean, you're stepping in to, a dream team, which is an honor, but the reality is they're already so head and shoulders above the, the opposition they're dealing with, and they handled it perfectly. But again, the other the other disappointment from a lawyer's perspective is when you do this at a high level, you want to work with other lawyers at a high level. And it's always good to meet new lawyers, work with new people. And this would have been great. I mean, particularly for me, I was very much looking forward to working with Alan personally. That's just, and David and Bob, who I didn't know before this and are great. And Liza is a brilliant lawyer. They're all great lawyers. And so it would have been nice to add to that, but it wasn't necessary, clearly. I mean, you saw what they did. I mean, they mopped the floor with the prosecution's case. It would have been nice to have had a couple of rounds of holding the mop and doing it myself, but that's okay.
Right.
At the end of the day, the right thing happened, and somebody who was not guilty of a horrible allegation was acquitted, and that's the most important thing. So but it would have been fun to cross-examine some of these people.
Oh, sure. I bet. Yeah. It's like when you sit there and it's like Mr. T when he's watching Rocky box and he wants his opportunity to get in there and fight Balboa. You kind of get that thirst because you're a competitor. It's like anything. It's like when I'm a basketball player. Anytime I go watch a game, I just want to suit up and go play it. It's as a lawyer, you're like, I want to get involved. I know exactly how I'm going to cross these people and cross-examine these people.
No, it would have been, professionally satisfying. But again, you get an acquittal. The job was handled perfectly by the people who did it. And, you do this for a living. You're not the judge. Part of being a lawyer is you have to have a thin skin in the sense you're not the judge, and you have to be ready for the next battle. Or it's like a baseball player who gets, a high and tight one. You got to get back in the box and be ready for the next pitch. And when you're a lawyer, it happened, and you can either sit at home and bitch and moan and whine and do nothing, or you can, there's clients that you have to represent and more to be done. And there's plenty of that to go around. So, would have been nice, but it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to do the shows, which was a great thing. And then also you're still representing Aiden, and you got that great case coming up. It's going to be, that case is already just like Karen's case. It's more than expansive enough. There's more subject matter. Yeah.
As it stands right now, in theory, we have 3 trials. For now anyway, right?
Yeah.
God knows when the next one will come. But, there is the trial that relates to all the witnesses from Karen's case. There is the Lindsay Gattani trial. And then there is the intimidation of a window trial, which we won't talk about.
No.
At least not unofficially. Maybe officially. Right. Okay.
All right. I have a question here that came in from Allison. She emailed her question today. Allison says, a question for you. Will Alan Jackson have the opportunity to depose the McAlberts in the civil case, and what would the paramets of the questioning be?
Yeah, and depositions can be very uncomfortable. In a perfect world, I'd love to see it in a federal lawsuit where they're the plaintiff. Federal deposition is most likely going to be videotaped. And the problem that they have in a deposition, if you're the one being deposed, is the rules of evidence are weird. Lawyers can object to a question, but with certain rare exceptions, privilege or other things, you still have to answer it. And then you fight later about whether it's proper and usable in any form during the course of litigation. So, yeah, I mean, it's very conceivable at some point in Karen's civil litigation, whether it's this case that's going on now or another one, that he could very much be sitting across a conference room table from Brian Albert, Jennifer McCabe, and asking them all kinds of questions that there won't be a Judge Cannoni to say, come over here and talk to me off the record at sidebar, and you can't do this. You're going to have to do it. But that's how litigation works.
Yes. Next question I got for you. This is my own question. How much do you think Karen Read would sue for? How much do you think she can get? I just said it's a rough ballpark estimate.
I can't even. You know what? In fairness to her lawyers that are strategizing this, I wouldn't even pretend to guess what their thought process is. I mean, is this federal or state? Are they going after the state police and the DA? Are they going after private individuals? I mean, I think, I mean, a lot, obviously, but I would be speculating, and I wouldn't even. It's not a dumb question.
Question.
Not a dumb.
Come on, period. Full stop. I thought it was a pretty good question. I think it's something I'm interested in knowing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's an entirely appropriate question, but I'm not comfortable speaking.
No, absolutely.
For her, when her legal team is planning that now, I don't want to step on their toes, good or bad.
No, absolutely. I thought it was a pretty solid question, and I agree with Microdots over here. $100 trillion sounds pretty right to me. That's all right. Everyone has their opinion in the comments from time to time. I just want to make sure we're respecting people too. Period. Full stop.
I don't think that was a dumb question. I just gave the answer.
That's all good. Let's talk next about Karen Read. We realized that, as we already know, was refreshed in our brains this past week, that Karen Read still does not have her Lexus back. Is this just par for the course or what in terms of insanity?
My dogs don't think it's very appropriate. Yeah. I mean, look.
Yeah.
The case is over. Okay. As far as I know, they never instituted any forfeiture proceedings to take the vehicle. So having said that, I can't fathom why she doesn't have it back. There are times where if the state or the federal government in a federal case does bring forfeiture proceedings against property that is used as an instrumentality of a crime, she was convicted of driving while intoxicated. There is an argument that they could have sought forfeiture for that reason. You saw this about 20 years ago. They started this in New York City as a way to raise money. Anybody that was getting arrested for DWI in New York, Giuliani came up with a great idea. Just forfeit the car and then tell them if you can buy it back to avoid litigation. And, that's how they make money in New York City. I mean, everything's a racket in New York City, government or otherwise. But I don't believe there's any forfeiture proceedings going on here. The car has no value to the DA's office. She was acquitted of all of these counts. There's no reason for it. But again, does any of this really shock any of you? Given the way, I know they had to file a motion because according to them, they couldn't get Adam Lally to return a phone call. That's a shocker. You can't get him to turn over search warrants in 5 years in a murder case. Yeah. I think he's going to return a phone call to turn over or return a vehicle after he was embarrassed, in a case. But no, there's no reason for them to have her car, and they ought to give it back or just cut the nonsense and be done with it.
It seems to be a big trend when it comes to Karen Read and Aidan Carney as well, where Aidan still doesn't have a lot of his property back. To the best of my knowledge, they still have his laptop that they seized in October 2023.
And of course, in the normal course of a prosecution, of which this is not, of course, nothing is normal here. in my experience, certainly in New York, whether it be in a state prosecutor or the U.S. Attorney's office in Manhattan or Brooklyn, they take devices and they do a mirror image of them. They extract them and do an imaging of them, and they return the device, unless the device itself has evidentiary value, which is rare but can happen. If a device has a defendant's fingerprints on it where they claim they weren't at a scene, you would say that phone has evidentiary value. If the phone was stolen property or something like that, if it was used to identify someone because they were holding a phone, whatever. But the case where the phone itself, the physical device, has no evidentiary value, and the DA or whatever the prosecutor is extracts the data, which is what matters, there is no reasonable basis to not return the phone. But there's a saying in one of my favorite movies of all time, at the end of it, when Jack Nicholson is very despondent at what happened to Faye Dunaway, and the advice he got, and we all know what it is. Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown. So we bitch and moan, and we'll bitch and moan some more. Again, there's a plan, there's a method of the madness, but there's no reason for this. But that's how they've done it.
Looks like we have a question here. Is the evidence that was impounded in the criminal case automatically also impounded in the civil case, or can her attorneys file motions without redacting the good stuff we haven't seen yet?
Well, they can do all kinds of stuff. If it was impounded in the criminal case, even if the criminal case is over, they'd have to get it officially unimpounded. I don't know what the status of that, what they're doing, what they're not doing, but they will. I know, like the sidebar transcripts, those kinds of things. There's all kinds, as all kinds of emails and electronic communications that are ostensibly, under a protective order because apparently, once again, in Norfolk County, they believe in a policy of what's called prior restraint, which violates the First Amendment, which is, we don't let you have evidence because you might do something with it, which is prior restraint of free speech. But they also, people should make FOIA requests. The DA's office just released all these other emails and other things. And if there are public communications, they're subject to public release. And that, that's up to the public to do. The citizen activists should be seeking this, because when they seal this information, those are the victims. The victim is the public, right? That's the argument that we're dealing with in our case, where all this material is under a protective order. The video isn't the victim is the defense per se. The victim is the public. You have a presumptive First Amendment right to open court files and open court proceedings, especially on a case of public interest like this one is, especially in a case that involves the prosecution of a journalist who is in the process of exposing corruption by the very same people who are prosecuting him. And then they say, yeah, but we're going to hide that because we don't want him to say so. The people that ought to be getting involved are the public. They should be seeking to intervene. Media organizations, you've seen this in other cases,
right?
They should be the ones that are moving to unseal this. The Boston Globe, the Boston Herald, the TV stations, these are matters of public concern, and they have a right, you have a right to see this.
Yeah, sorry about that. Absolutely. Thank you, Mark, for that. And do you think that, in your experiences, this is a question I have for you. When you look at Aiden's devices and the lack of return, and you look at Karen Reed's vehicle and the lack of return, or even the delayed return, when you have any clients you've represented in New York or anywhere else, because Brian Walsh got his phone back in 24 hours or whatever, someone just referenced that in the comments. Yeah. Has there ever been any time where you've seen what would be the reasonable time frame that you would expect someone to get their property back?
Well,
typical case.
Again, in a cell phone, a matter of days, because you extract it, you mirror image it, and then you no longer have a need, and you're obligated to disclose the contents to the defense anyway. And the easiest way to do that is say, here's your phone, and then we'll give you a report to go with it, and you decide. So that ought to be in a matter of days. As far as other property, it can be a pain in the ass. You have to in New York, it can get complicated. You have to get a release from the DA, and then you take it to the NYPD and the vaunted property clerk at One Police Plaza. And they, you imagine that the evidence storage room down there is tantamount to the room where they kept the Ark of the Covenant in Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? The NYPD property room where they have everything,
right.
God knows what to God knows where. But it shouldn't be this complicated. I mean, the only thing you ever see real difficulty in getting back are firearms. They don't do it. They just destroy them. They just like literally bend them and destroy them.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible. Like I was sitting there a couple of weeks ago and I was talking about the vehicle, and I figure like there's some kind of, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the term's probably not chain of custody, whatever, but at some point you figure, okay, the case is over. The trial's over. It's been over since June. There might be like that reasonable, maybe like 7 to 14 day period to process and release, whatever. But when it starts to get, what's that?
It's not reasonable what they're doing.
No, not at all. It's insane. And let me ask you this question. We may not have an answer for this. You may not even want to speculate. Can you think of any reason why they wouldn't give it back a vehicle or give Aiden back the laptop? Answer.
It could be any number of reasons. It can be laziness. Yeah. It can be incompetence. It can be arrogance. It could be obnoxiousness.
Yeah.
It could be something more nefarious. I don't want to assume that, you know, but there's just no reason for it, no credible reason. I mean, the case against Karen is over. It's never going to be restored.
Right.
There is literally no reason for the state police / Norfolk DA's office to have a 2022 Lexus that has been off the road for this amount of time. And God bless Karen if she's been having to pay, whether it be insurance, probably, I assume, took it off the road, or monthly lease payments, or I don't even know who owns it, any of that. It's just, there's no reason for them. The case ended in June and it's now almost September. Tomorrow's September, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy to think that. Now, I mean, this is just my opinion. My belief system is that I think once Karen Reed and her defense team get that vehicle back, they're going to try to have that vehicle scrubbed for, I don't know what, but just have some kind of analysis done. My concern is, though, is that by the time that vehicle is returned, it's basically been quote unquote bleached or acid washed, where I guess I don't know what would be to find on that vehicle, but I'd imagine her defense team would look for some kind of evidence of tampering or anything.
Is that how they do it now? Years ago, and I represented some guy who didn't want to return his car. He just lit a match, left it in the Bronx. And the car got stolen, and turns out he actually got a really good deal, though. The woman who was prosecuting him herself got arrested for a bunch of crimes, and that complicated things. But that was the Bronx way. You just light a match.
Yeah, take it in the middle of nowhere and just the middle of the Bronx somewhere, and just Harlem, and just light the thing up. And it got stolen. That's what happened. Here's a great.
Are that the arson people can actually determine where the accelerant is? I mean, they're actually very skilled.
Right. That's funny. Here's a great question here. Did Karen, beyond the question here, did Karen ever get her bail money back? I don't believe she has, but what's the time frame would you say to get your bail money back? Would you typically say? What do you expect?
One day. I mean, if the case is over, bail is used to, in theory, ensure that you have an incentive to return to court. Karen Reed's acquitted, and whatever she has to do for her ticky-tack probation for the misdemeanor is meaningless. So if she doesn't have her bail money back, that's troublesome to me too. Why not? Now, I don't know who paid the bail. That's who would actually get the money back minus the cost. But it would be shocking to me that if she or whoever put up the bail tried to get it back and months later doesn't have it. That there's no reason for that. And that would be even true if she had been convicted. I mean, bail is not meant to be kept by the court. It's a security against you not coming back to court, and court's over.
Right, 100%. It's amazing to me she doesn't get that stuff back. But then, like I said, 7 to 14 days tops. I know that might be too much for some people. I'd say like at maximum 7 to 14 days tops. You get the vehicle back, you get the bail money back, you get whatever else you get back. This thing is over and done with. It should be, it's like anything. I mean, if you're acquitted of something, you're acquitted. End of story. The trial's happened. It's over. Goodbye.
I mean, I've probably said this a lot of times over the last year and a half or so, but it gets truer and truer by the day. In my experience, there is just nothing normal in the way that these things are handled in that county about these cases.
Absolutely. I want to talk about the FBI. Like Hans Gruber said in Die Hard, I give you the FBI. This was a discussion that was just had recently. Karen Reed and Alan Jackson on Howie Carr. Karen Reed's defense team is reporting that they were never informed that the investigation was closed. Alan Jackson also states, even if it had been closed or is closed, that they could always reopen the case. And this were some of your thoughts on the FBI. I personally think they're basically, in terms of ever bringing anybody to justice in this thing, the only salvation in terms of that happening. Maybe not salvation.
Again, none of this is normal. Normally, when you have federal investigations that do not result in activity, they just fade away and disappear. What you normally do not get are these kinds of statements that have allegedly been made announcing the end of an investigation that results in nothing. So, for example, I have, in theory, probably 4 clients who were in that subject, not quite target, but subject witness as part of federal investigations in the Southern District of New York. Some of them go back years, right? No one's ever called and say, hey, great news. Remember that investigation about that, healthcare fraud? Don't worry about it. You're good. Like, it doesn't work that way. Now, in this case, everyone's being told they did it. Now, in all fairness, there was a lot of publicity about it. Everybody knew that the FBI was knocking on doors, that there was grand jury, and they may have felt to protect reputations of certain people, they had to do that. But people need to understand it's not normal for there to be, a pomp and circumstance and, balloon party to say the FBI has left the building, or really the Justice Department. The U.S. Attorney would make the call usually. But the other thing is this, just because they determine that an investigation is closed, there's no formality to that. Again, there's no ceremony that says thou shalt not think of this again. And, on this date and time, here lies the end of the investigation into this. They could get information tomorrow, a year from now, or whatever, that could warrant reopening or revalidating or just something. So whether it's closed or not is really semantics. If new information came to light that gave the federal government reason to believe that there ought to be an investigation or prosecution into something arising out of John O'Keefe's death, assuming the statute of limitations haven't run, they do it. So, I mean, I don't read into it one way or the other than there was grand jury testimony a couple of years ago and nothing has come from it. So, I mean, I think you have to take that at face value, that at least as it stands right now, at least as of a few months ago or whatever, it seems clear that they weren't taking any action. But that doesn't shock me either. I mean, I think we talked about this a little earlier when we were talking about Proctor. They don't go out and subscribe to the model of throw mud at the wall prosecution like the Norfolk DA and just says, arrest someone and we'll see if it sticks. Good luck. That's not how the feds do it. And even if they think somebody committed a crime, if they don't have it locked down, they don't arrest. They don't do it. So it doesn't mean that they gave a clean bill of health to anyone. It doesn't mean that they didn't either. But if they don't believe there's sufficient proof, then they walk away. But what they don't say on the way out is, because we didn't charge you, we think you're a great person or we think you're a criminal. They say nothing.
Yeah.
So to me, all this, is it closed or is it not closed, is semantics, because at any given moment, if they learn something, there you go.
Yeah. It's just, like I said, I just don't know what the feds would or would not do in all of this. That's always been my biggest concern. I just, without the feds aside for a second, I just don't believe there's any way any person is ever going to go to jail over this because of the crime scene being tampered with so bad that it's the same set of evidence that Karen. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's worse than that.
Yeah.
If anybody were arrested and charged with anything arising out of John O'Keefe's death, that person's defense is going to be Karen Reed did it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's going to be, in essence, a third-party culprit that she did it. And you can thank the DA's office and the state police for essentially, short of compelling evidence, I mean, like things we can't even fathom would prove somebody did it.
Right.
That they have, in essence, not literally, but practically immunized anyone else by giving them a bulletproof third-party culprit defense that she did it.
Right. And so again,
they're going to have to get proof beyond a reasonable doubt as well.
Right.
And they're going to say, well, you know, the taillight was broken and this conspiracy is crazy. And the likelihood would be, not that a juror would say Karen did it, but that how do you have proof beyond a reasonable doubt that this new person did? So the damage that this flawed investigation did is just crazy. So, I mean, it is kind of ironic, but anyone's defense would be, you know, she did it, you know, even though she, you know, got off. Do you really know she didn't do it? You know, that kind of nonsense.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's, I think, too, is that they'll just use whatever that, you know, proof beyond a reasonable doubt. You have a crime scene that's all basically muddied either way, which then brings it back.
The crime scene is toast by, you know, 7 men. They killed.
Right. And I think that was kind of probably their idea, too. Basically, it is, we're going to try to pin it on the girl. And if we succeed or not, then there's basically nothing to really crime scene.
If these idiots had secured the crime scene in January 29th, 2022, and could prove that they sat on it and no one came in and no one came out up until about 6 o'clock that evening. And again, assuming it was true and assuming there was credible evidence of that, and they could establish that taillight was legitimate. In other words, nobody planted it and it's conclusive. Then Karen gets convicted.
Right.
Okay. But they didn't. And there's no reason that they didn't. And that's why, you know, many people believe it's just a dirty, corrupt case. But if they had done that basic task and could have established that, then, you know, that it could be a whole different conversation. But they didn't. And there was plenty of access for people to plant evidence. And, I did my own deep dive months ago about all that. And it fits. It is absolutely plausible. There are some people who are more candidates than others. Were all kinds of things that were said at the first trial and in other forms of testimony involving, for example, Detective Tully talking to what's his name, Lieutenant O'Hara, and what Buchanan and Proctor were saying, that and the way they found the evidence, the time they found it, the location, the amount of time that they found it. A lot of this did come out at the second trial, but by my recollection, when there was a deep dive on this, there was a lot of sketchy, disturbing facts about that whole scene that completely led me to believe something happened here. Unnatural.
Right. The FBI, in terms of, let's just say one day they do bring people to justice. What kind of means do you think they'd use at their disposal? Maybe wiretapping, computer online records, things of that nature. Try to see what they were up to behind the scenes, telephone communications, text message exchanges, things of that nature.
Yeah. I mean, wiretapping is a different animal, we call those like Title III applications and warrants.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just get a wiretap. There is a process, both in federal and state court, to get a wiretap. And you actually have to show the issuing magistrate that you have exhausted every other means of gathering evidence, and you can't. I'm not saying it's really that rigid in practice, but you can't go get a federal authorized wiretap the same way you go pick up a pizza on the way home from work. It's a little more complicated than that.
Mhm.
If they have a basis to do it, I'm sure they would seek it. You heard lots of rumors that they had wiretaps going, which again, from a lawyer's perspective, that was an alarm. That was like, wow, if they have wiretaps,
Mm.
I mean, to be honest, when they were talking about, they might have wiretaps in the DA's office, I always found that hard to believe because
Yeah.
that raises such substantial issues related to the grand scheme of justice. The idea of wiretapping a lawyer's office
Mm.
where you could be overhearing a lot of things that have nothing to do with corruption and things that just, people shouldn't be listening to, and whether they minimize it, which means turn it off after a period of time. Still, the idea that the federal government would be listening to the day-to-day business of a state prosecutor's office. I mean, if that were true, that is wow.
Yeah.
That's serious stuff.
Right. Absolutely. It's just, I mean, I'm interested in like just seeing this process 3 years from now, where all this is with Karen, her defense team, civil suits, FBI involvement or non-involvement. I'm just interested to see where we're going to be in 2028.
Still talking about this, no doubt.
I bet. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to have to get Just for Men by that point. But hey, who was Kelly Dever, aka Kelly Dever? Was she the most shocking witness of this entire second trial for you in terms of just all factors considered, personality, behavior, all that? She was for me.
Personality, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in her life and whatnot, but we talked earlier about being unfit for duty with a lunatic in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Kelly Dever is not fit to be a police officer, and she just humiliated herself. She embarrassed herself. She did it on essentially national TV. I mean, it's a shame, but the reality is her testimony was ridiculous on its face. Her demeanor was just shameful and disgraceful. Um, it's just another example of when people say, the blue wall, that they don't like to see it. Part of me wants to feel bad for her, just that she ruined her life over this. She left the department for a reason. I mean, you wonder if it was the right thing to do, right? I mean, she saw things. She told the FBI what she saw. She saw bad things, or certainly suspicious things, and then she got stupid, and then she got false memoried, and then all of that went with it. And all she did was clown herself and act like a petulant child. It was hard to believe that she was an active duty police officer, and she ruined her career. So she shouldn't have done it, but she did it. And yeah, I think I'd have to say she definitely was the most shocking witness in the case. It was a gamble to call her, obviously, but you saw how a hostile witness is. That was certainly it. And she just embarrassed herself and certainly damaged the prosecution, because I think it was clear to everyone that she was just completely full of shit.
Yeah. It was a shocking cross or direct. Sorry, it was direct on direct at that point, but it was shocking, and I didn't expect it, because I was like many people. I thought Jennifer McCabe was going to be somewhere within the ballpark in terms of behavior comparatively to how she was in the first trial, but she was obviously to a degree subdued this time around. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, she was subdued. I don't think her demeanor in the second trial was anything like the first, certainly.
Right.
But I mean, and I don't have the transcripts of this case yet, but when you look at the cold record, lawyers call reading the transcript, where there's no emotion, there's just, you're reading what was said, the Q&A, if you will, right? I have a strong feeling Jennifer McCabe's credibility in the second trial of Karen Reed will not be a good read for her credibility, because she just denied so many things about statements that she claimed she made that were not borne out. And, the grand jury stenographer must have got it wrong. The first trial stenographer got it wrong. Tully got it wrong. Proctor got it wrong. She said all these things. Nobody knew about it. She gave her ridiculous testimony about the FBI and the ice cream truck and being Nicole and forgetting the phone calls and cooperating with anyone who was willing to talk to me, except I shut down that interview and lied to them. I don't think that's going to be a very good read, but I don't think anything was. I mean, I think, as I said earlier, when you go back, if there's a time where people rewatch the trial or look at the cold record of the second trial, Karen and her crew just cleaned their clock. I mean, it wasn't even close. And I think the jurors who have been interviewed have essentially established that.
Absolutely. I got a question here from Noodle's mama that's been being asked. I was going to find it. It was about your opinion of Cosgrove.
Respect, pleasant, professional in communication. But, when you get between the hash marks, buckle up, right? You don't get a pass for being a nice guy. But it's professional. It's not personal. We talk before court. We huddle in the courthouse and conference. It's very professional. When we deal with stuff outside of court appearances, it's professional. But that doesn't mean anything. We still intend on, wearing you down and making you lose, but professional. I mean, I don't think it's certainly nothing at all like, I think you saw the relationship with Brennan and Karen's people.
Absolutely. A question came in from Twine and Toucans. Mr. Bederow, can you and your client file charges exposing the quote unquote monster before the bombs are dropped?
I'm not sure. Can you read that again? I'm not sure.
Sure. Can you and your client file charges exposing the quote unquote monster before the bombs are dropped? I think the Bederow letters are the bombs. Who the monster is, I'm confused on.
I'm confused, other than to say, we're going to be filing a motion to dismiss for a number of reasons, including things that happened in a grand jury that never should have happened. And, I won't get into details other than saying I've presented hundreds of cases to a grand jury. Tim, I'm sure, has done the same. Other lawyers who will eventually read the motion and see what it is, who've done the same. I have never seen anything like the grand jury presentation that was made in this case for the 2023 indictment. It was just a complete train wreck and joke, and we'll deal with that. As far as, the crayon letters that, to nobody that, real lawyers don't write, they have a purpose. And if putting aside the lunatics and trolls, I've said this always, everything has a purpose in what we do. And especially in New York, this is a common practice. You write letters to prosecutors. They're called demand letters. Okay. They are what we call specific demands for evidence, generally of the exculpatory nature. And it is very important to make a record of those specific demands so that if evidence that is not disclosed later turns up and you say that you specifically requested it, the sanctions are much more severe if you file specific demands rather than just say, can you please give me my discovery? So that has been done. And as what we've said repeatedly is when you write these demand letters, you hope they do what they're supposed to do, which is respond to them and disclose whatever it is they're obligated to disclose. And if they don't do so, it's at their peril. Okay. Well, now we're writing the motion that all of these lunatics have been saying we're incapable of doing. And which has always been the plan in the event that you don't get what you're entitled to. And there will be a motion to dismiss for their failure to disclose evidence that we are legally entitled to and to which we have alerted them in the crayon letters several times previously. And some of this evidence, I mean, you heard this in court, has apparently been deleted by a private citizen, which is code word for you know who, if it's not them. And we're going to deal with that, but we're entitled to that evidence. It's relevant. It may very well be exculpatory. It's central to the defense. And now we can't have it because when it was in their possession, they never disclosed it. And now they claim it's lost. So when you write the motion, you revert back to the letters and you tell a judge, on this date, we asked for this. They did nothing. On this date, we asked for this. They still did nothing. Now they tell us it's gone. We know it exists based upon other evidence they disclosed. Judge, got to do something about it. And, we expect he will.
One of my biggest frustrations with Aiden's hearings has been, and I'm not trying to, and I've said this in a Twitter post I think it was earlier this month, I believe. This is not in any way to insult the judge or critique the judge in a way that is negative. It is a way to basically critique the process of how the hearings are scheduled, when they are scheduled, and then also the busyness of the judge. So what I mean by this is the judge sees multiple cases a day, I'm more than sure, multiple cases a week. And every time it comes back around to Aiden and Bradel, perhaps you occasionally when you're able to be there or call on Zoom, it seems like the judge, in my opinion, doesn't have the gist or the full spectrum of everything in his mind, because there's a 3 to 4 to 5 week lull between sessions in court. And I feel sometimes that when I watch Bradel talking with the judge, I almost feel like Bradel spends a good 15 minutes trying to get the judge to refresh his mind about what was said a month ago. And then when that hearing is finally over and the judge starts to finally, to some degree, get it again, well, guess what? We'll see at the end of September. That's just my critique. I see you smiling.
I like Judge Dulan.
Yeah.
I think he's courteous to the lawyers.
Mr. Bederow! That's my favorite moment. Loved it.
Welcomes conversation. He lets you argue. He's quite funny, and when you're not talking about official stuff. So I have nothing to say. All you can ever ask for is a judge who's fair and treats the lawyers respectfully, and he does that. So that's all I would ever want as a litigator, that kind of judge. The problem, I think, is not the judge. It's this whole screwed up case. And again, the culture of Norfolk County, and how they just dump evidence. They don't catalog it. They don't and it's just a pile of crap. It's a mess. The case is hard to follow. It's hard, like from a discovery standpoint. We have a hard time. Okay.
Yeah.
We're the lawyers who think about this all the time. And it's the way they do it. There's no method to the madness, and that's probably on purpose. There's no speedy trial statute in Massachusetts, so things tend to just drag. Some of this, again, I don't want to speak out of turn because I'm just a guest. Yeah. It's not my home court, literally. But, we had a hearing ordered a year ago about tossing the prosecutor off the case. That hearing has not been held. Mm-hmm. It's just not. Now there'll be more on that coming soon, I assure you. But the reality is, a year has gone by. Dramatic pause, solo cup. I like that. A year has gone by, and we're like, it's Groundhog Day. It's like we're still talking about when are we doing this hearing, and whose fault is that? It's not for me to say. All I can tell you is this. We're motivated, right? We go where they send us, when they send us, and whatever it takes, we'll push the pedal to the metal and knock this thing out, whether it's a month or a year. But you've got to just go with the flow. It can be frustrating. Cases there take a long time, and for us, we have 3 of them. The reality is, if these cases aren't dismissed, this legal saga is going to go on years.
Yeah. That's my concern too, is that there's just so much going. There's so many subcategories. The same thing with Karen Reed's case as well. Even though the trial's over, I mean, it took years for all us to go through the processes of everything, and then you still have civil suits to come. You don't have to answer this next part, but I'd imagine at some point Aiden's going to file civil suits at some point down in the future. If I were him, it's just my opinion, I'd sue the state for $1 million a day for being in jail for 60 days. That's just my opinion.
Well, I'll hold off on that for now.
I know.
We have first world problems. We have New York, an indictment is a case. In Massachusetts, each charge they call an indictment. So it's backwards. We have 3 docketed cases that are loaded with indictments, but 3 cases, if you will, that would have to be resolved before it would even cross in a serious way, your thought process about what comes next. What comes next is they're trying to put a guy in prison for basically drawing attention to what is a case that has, gripped the nation and clearly has become a poster child of corruption. It has resulted, in what's happened to Proctor and all these other things. And they don't like him for that. And, he's aggressive. We know that. He's got a way to him that may be different than a lot of people. But, these are not the things that in America in 2025 we should be putting people in prison for.
Right, 100%. It just seems like, obviously it's just the things they were coming out with, even, other things that have come up, Richie Schiffer, the Canton 9, a few of the attributes like that it was just absolute madness. So I want to talk about a poll, Mark, that I ran about you on my Twitter account recently. And this is about, so switch gears here. You get to hang out with Mark Bederow for the day. What's the activity? Celtics game, Patriots game, a Breaking Bad marathon, or other? So other was predominantly Calhoun's. Mike Crawford from the Young Jerks was all in on Calhoun's. He didn't hesitate for a moment. My choice, I'm not to say Celtics game, but Breaking Bad marathon won.
That's okay. Again, we're almost wrapping up Breaking Bad with, my son who got into it. It's great. And so we're watching it. Celtics game would be maybe more interesting in the last couple of years than this year, unfortunately. Calhoun would always be good. Definitely. Yep. Calhoun, more conversational, perhaps.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you want to go to a sports game with me because I'm one of those guys who I watch the game.
Yeah. Well, that's how I am.
If my team's playing, I'm not really talking about I'm watching the game and whatnot. But I like that. Breaking Bad or Calhoun would be my votes too.
Yeah, I know. But me, that's the way I'm at games too. I'm very serious at games. I remember one of my buddies. He was partnered with he was working for a bank, and he had buddies that were doing some kind of hiring for him. So they took him to a Celtics game. The 2 guys, I got to go with them. We saw the Celtics Rockets back in 2017. It was the game where Marcus Smart picked up the charge of James Harden. I was there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. I was there for that game. And, one of the guys says to me, he goes, "You enjoying yourself?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." He goes, "Oh, you just seem so serious." I'm like, "Well, it's the Celtics playing, man."
We just saw one of the most unlikely and improbable wins of all time here. I mean, of course.
Yeah. That game was wild because
I've gone to some pretty interesting, unique games over the years. Even when I lived in New York, I was in Boston and went to the Jason Varitek, knuckle sandwich on Alex Rodriguez. That was great to be at. I was at Yankee Stadium. For old Red Sox fans will remember this one. There was a game in 1999 where Pedro Martinez threw a one-hitter.
Oof.
It was a Chili Davis home run, unfortunately, so it wasn't even a shutout. That most baseball diehards would tell you had to be the most dominant performance they ever saw. It was a one-hitter, no walk, 17 strikeout, 1 ball left the infield, and that was the Chili Davis home run. I was at that game. I've certainly, I think we might have talked about this before. When I was a kid, I went to the Danny Ainge, Tree Rollins.
Oh, jeez. Oh my God, that was a wild one.
I went to do you remember? I mean, I know you like 1980s basketball. I went to the Lakers Celtics final game where it was 2,000 degrees in the old Boston Garden, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was sucking on the.
Oh, yep, 84.
Yeah, during the 84 finals.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I could probably think of 100. I've been to World Series games, obviously Stanley Cup games.
I was at the Tuck Rule game.
Were you?
I was working security at that game. I was actually on field level down. Actually, I was behind the end zone during the final kick that won the game. I couldn't see the first field goal to tie it to force overtime because I was on the opposite side of the field. So I'm like looking at the crowd, like, is this going to end or what? To go in, and
I went to some stuff. I went to the clinching game of the 1993 NBA Finals in Phoenix, where John Paxson hit the 3-pointer.
Yep. Game
beat
6.
Charles Barkley's Suns. And at the time, you know, that was Michael Jordan's last game. He took his little 2-year probable suspension. Who are we kidding? You know, whatever. And then he came back. So that became less of a game. But, so, you know, we saw the Michael Jordan Bulls celebrate in Phoenix. I could go on and on. A lot of interesting games. It was, but I watched the games. So I'm not that fun to be with.
Yeah, and a Raiders fan just popped up about the Tuck Rule here. Look at that, out of nowhere. Raiders fan in the house.
It was the correct call, and it was the legend of Tom Brady. And, you know, we're not going to hear different on that. Come on.
Right. I would say this. They made the correct determination based on the rule as it was perceived at the time. And then I would say that the rule itself was controversial. Inherently, it needed to be changed. That's how I would say that. They had the correct interpretation, though, of that rule at that time. He says overruled.
Raider.
Well, Brady owns the Raiders anyways, doesn't he now?
I mean, what a strange ownership group he joined.
Oh, it is.
Tom Brady and Mark Davis. They're about as diametrically opposite as could be, right? At least on appearance and haircuts. But
oh my goodness, yeah, that's wild. I guess he can go in the do the interview tape rooms or whatever now with opposing teams. That's now a rule that they allow he can do this year. So that's interesting. I miss him playing though. I miss him playing for the Patriots. It's like Larry Bird or Bobby Orr. You know, you want that player to play their whole life for your team and be ageless.
Yeah. Have you seen that statue in person yet, or no? That thing looks terrible.
You know, I was going to go down there about a week after it was there, and I just never made it down. I was going to go down and check it out, and I just never made it down to that area. And I wanted to see it. I do like the base of it, that it has all the Super Bowl games listed. Yeah.
But like the head and the giant shoulders, the unveiling was wow.
Yeah.
Good.
I like the Bobby Orr statue. That's my favorite one of all of them.
Yeah. And I like the addition of the bear that they put out there too. They have a Bruins bear on the side of TD Garden, which, you know, I kind of like that.
Right. I haven't seen the Red Auerbach statue though on the bench. I haven't seen that one. No, I haven't.
No, that's at Faneuil Hall. It's just a bench.
Is it? Okay.
And they have a Bill Russell one there, and they also at Faneuil Hall have foot impressions of Larry Bird. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Next question. Give me your all-time NBA starting lineup.
Wow.
Yeah.
All time. So by position, we're not just picking 5 guys. We have to pick.
Correct. Yeah, positionally, your starting lineup. Yeah.
Well,
you can flex positions if you need.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to do this from a GM perspective rather than just stats and whatnot. Because this team would be so good, right? And you want to balance it out. You have to go with Bill Russell in the middle because you're going to get winning and championships in defense, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't need as much offense. So you could say Shaq, you could say all that, but no, give me Bill Russell. You have to say Michael Jordan. It pains me to say that, you know, he's the greatest player of all time. And I have this discussion with my son all the time. He tries to tell me that it's LeBron James, and I try to tell him that's because you were born last week. I mean, you know, I get it. That's how they are, right? They go with what they know. And I just said, stop this madness.
Yeah.
You know, Michael Jordan, if he got into the NBA Finals, Michael Jordan won the end. And then he's telling me about Pippen. I'm like, I can't do this. So I would take Jordan. I mean, we're biased, so let's throw Larry Bird up there, right? I'm going by my generation, obviously.
Yes, yeah.
Magic Johnson to me was just unbelievable, you know. So I'd have to say him. And I'm missing one more, and I guess
forward.
I'm missing power forward. I'm missing a point guard, I think.
I know you said Magic, Jordan, Bird, and Russell.
Yeah, Jesus, Magic is like, you know, the 6'10" point guard, obviously.
Right.
So if I need another forward, am I just going to be biased or just am I going to be honest?
Garnett, McHale.
I'm not going to sit here and say that Kevin Garnett is one of the all-time 5 whatever, but let me just throw this out there before we finish the roster. When they got Kevin Garnett, okay, how much fun was that 2008? They're not the greatest team of all time, whatever, but the Kevin Garnett, adding him to the Paul Pierce, Rondo, and bringing in Ray, that team was so much fun. And it's a crime against basketball that the injuries, they only won 1 championship, and then they had the injury in 2010. So during the finals, you know, they ran out of gas. That team should have won multiple championships, but so I'm missing a power. I'm not going to say someone like Karl Malone. That's too boring.
Yeah.
Who am I missing? I'm missing a million people. I can't even.
Barkley, Kemp, Rodman,
Barkley,
Dirk, Duncan.
Barkley, you know, is on my all-time like commentator team. I mean, he is just the best. I need a power forward. I could go way back, or we could go today. I'm gonna have to. I don't know. Meadowlark Lemon. Somebody said, "Yeah, not quite, not quite." Now I'm gonna have to think on that. I mean, it's not Nowitzki. Bird Nowitzki's like, not just because he's a white guy, but he's like another Bird. But Bird's better than Nowitzki. I don't know. Who am I missing? You tell me.
You got Garnett. You got Duncan. You got Dirk. You got
Duncan's too boring. I know he's I mean, give me Kevin Garnett over Duncan. I mean, give me some piss and vinegar and emotion and rile up the crowd. I just love. I wish we had
Giannis.
No, absolutely. No. I wish Kevin Garnett was a Celtic much earlier in his career. He was like
Ray Allen too,
a true beast. Yeah,
yeah. If we had Ray Allen, Pierce, and Garnett from like say the year 2000 on, that team would have won 4 titles minimum. Duncan, Shaq, and Kobe. Those finals between Shaq, Kobe, and Garnett, Pierce, Allen would have been insane, because people forget how good Pierce was. And Pierce was good, but he was much better between like 01 and 05, 06 before he got hurt.
Yeah, and he was playing mostly with junk too. I mean, he was on I mean, they had that one year where they went to the Eastern Finals against the Nets.
Yeah,
but I mean, those were bad. You know, those were lean years. And then, you know, they went from worst to best overnight when they brought in, you know, Garnett and Ray Allen at the same time. And like you said, if they had Ray Allen when he was, you know, Jesus Shuttleworth, Ray Allen, and, you know, that era, that would have been great. Because, I mean, there was a period of time where he was Steph Curry before Steph Curry.
Right.
I mean, with the way he would just – but, I love that team. I love that 08, 09, 10 iteration of the Celtics.
Yeah. They had so much balance. Plus, the thing about Allen and Pierce that was so great was that Pierce was like the one-on-one isolation guy, but then Allen was like the sharpshooter. So he kind of had the best of both worlds all on one team. And that's what made them so lethal. Oh, it's unbelievable. I wish that team, like I said, was together years before.
Yeah. I love that team. And, you know, I love just Paul Pierce, how he's just like Mr. Celtic at this point. Like last year, you know, going to opening night when they were celebrating championship and seeing those guys there, and, you know, sitting on the floor and having, you know, the boy try on the owner's ring. I mean, that was incredible. And now we have different owners and at least 1 year of a team. What do you get?
They should have won that automatically this year. I thought that their team was built for. Honestly, I'm not even going to kid you. I consider myself a basketball aficionado, and I should be. But I legitimately thought that team had 2 in a row in the bag, and I legitimately thought they had a shot at three-peating. I really thought they could have done 3-peats.
I really, really hope, and I think he will be, but I really hope Tatum doesn't lose a step when he comes.
I know.
the good news is they got him to a hospital with like in an hour, which apparently for Achilles is a big deal. And the best thing that could have happened, if you accept what happened to him, is that it happened at Madison Square Garden, because the New York City A1 hospitals are so close, and boom, you get it done right there.
Right. The Knicks were an okay team, but you can tell the Celtics injuries this year were making the Knicks look a little bit, I'd say 10% better than what they really were. They were a solid team, but they got knocked out quick.
The Knicks are good, but obviously I live here and it's listening to people, but I have to tell you, generally I have great respect for New York fans, even though they're different fan bases. They can be very obnoxious, but watching New York Knicks fans riot for winning a second round series against a crippled Celtics team and hanging from light posts on 33rd Street in Manhattan was a low watermark. And if you're a New York Knicks fan, you're never going to live that down. That was so pathetic. I know they wanted to beat the big bad Celtics, and I get it, but to see Knicks fans having an orgy for advancing to the conference finals only to get pants by the Indiana Pacers. Wow.
Oh my goodness. The finals was horrible this year too, because Halliburton gets hurt right at the beginning of game 7. It was like they just took the steam right out of that game.
Yeah, no, the Achilles injuries are it's the shoes they wear,
Damian Lillard,
Lillard, Halliburton, and Tatum, all number 0 too, huh?
Yeah. That's crazy to think. And I remember when Dominique Wilkins had his Achilles tendon injury and he played for the Clippers, then he came to play for the Celtics. And I remember being, young, very young kid at the time, and thinking to myself, oh my God, we're going to get Dominique. And I'm thinking in my head, yesteryear, that it wasn't. He was still solid, but he wasn't the same.
No, and they have a history in the last few decades of picking up Gramps. I mean, like when they got Shaq, I mean that was embarrassing. Like,
yeah, he should have come here 1 year earlier, because the thing is, I've said this time and time again, they were in the finals the year before. They were also in the finals against Kobe Bryant. And the thing was, Shaq I'd say he's probably 15% better when he was with the Cavs than when he came here and he went down with that Achilles permanently. And I think Shaq, honestly, even if Perkins went down, if they had Shaq and Rasheed, there's a chance that Shaq is walking out the door with 5 rings instead of 4, and Kobe's walking out of his career with 4 instead of 5. And Shaq made the right decision 1 year too late, and that's really sad. He wanted to play with LeBron and the Cavs, and we knocked them out of the playoffs in the 2010 run, but he should have just come right here, and he could have guaranteed himself a ring. Man.
Yeah, no, I mean, young Shaq was the craziest thing I ever saw. I mean, if you remember it, like LSU and early Orlando Shaq, where he would just slam the ball and shake the rafters.
Oh yeah.
And of course, he could never hit a free throw, but he was just such a beast down low. He was amazing to watch. I mean, he was just entertaining to watch. He would just truck people, anyone in his way, he would just physically destroy.
He was most physically done. He was his athletic best with the Magic. He was his physically best from present standpoint with the Lakers. But the thing was, if he had just not put on so much weight like he did, especially in the later years when he was with the Suns, the Cavs, and the Celtics,
that was embarrassing.
He gets he got it.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're that big and that tall and you have that much tread on the tires, it's not a good look. Yeah,
right. It was too bad. Like I said, I was hoping when he came here. I'll be honest. I thought if they didn't beat the Lakers in 2010, I said this era of this team is done. And sure enough, I had a lot of my own friends fighting me. You're wrong. You're being negative. I'm like, listen to me. I think this is their last shot. I don't think they're going to get past it any further. And sure enough, that ended up being true. And the thing was, 2011 and 2012, they had some shots. 2012, they had the feet on the ropes.
They had them on the ropes. The one that got away was the 09 team. Was 8 times better than 08. And when Garnett tore his, and then it was never going to be. But that team was immeasurably better than the championship 08 team. I mean, they were just a beast. I mean, they were just killing people. And then when KG went down, that was that.
That's an interesting comment, because comparatively, this year's Celtics team in the regular season was arguably better than last year's team to some degree, I would say. And they met the same exact fate where players got hurt or a big player got hurt and cost them their seat. Those are teams that should have won back-to-backs easily, both of them. Yeah. It's too bad. It really is. It's a tough league to win in. Nowadays, you don't see as many repeat. We haven't seen a repeat champion since the Warriors in like 2017, 2018, somewhere around there.
And those were even by then, those were the Durant ones where they were like literally building super teams. So
right. Nowadays, it's like a lot of one-off teams the last couple of years. The Raptors, the Bucks, the Nuggets.
Well, OKC is good for a long time, though.
I think so too. I think so as well. They're so young, and they don't
have capital too.
Right. Yeah, and if they don't lose, that's just crazy because they traded. Remember, they traded for all those draft picks years ago. And all of a sudden, here they come now.
Yeah,
that's the key.
They're on top of the mountain. They're young, and they have 1 million draft picks. I mean, the only thing they have going against them is they're in Oklahoma City, which is not exactly the most desirable location for an NBA player.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk before we wrap up the show. Tommy DeVito. What was the reaction to him getting released in New York? Because I know he was a fan favorite. What was the reaction to him ending up with the Patriots?
It's a clown show. I mean, he was a clown on the Giants. I mean, obviously, I got to be careful because, I'm talking to a guy named Mazza, and we're talking about Tommy DeVito. And as you know, Boston has the North End, obviously, and has an Irish, Italian tradition, but it's an Irish town. New York is more Italian with a small Irish area. So they threw him out of, Little Italy and put him in the North End. I mean, put it this way. It shouldn't matter. And if you're a Patriot fan, whether you like the guy or not, if Tommy Cutlets is in the game, you should be hurt. That means Drake May is not. Okay. And so it may be entertaining, and his agent is, this clown, whatever he is, the guy that hangs out with him. But if he's in the game, something went wrong. So hopefully Tommy Cutlets is really good at holding the clipboard and, putting an earpiece in and cheering on Drake May, because let's be honest, it's May or bust for the Pats.
It is, absolutely. How many Patriot games are you projecting yourself coming out here for this year? What's the estimate?
I'm not sure. I'm disappointed when I checked the schedule, when I made a determination. I'm coming out there not next weekend. After, there's no game. I do see the Red Sox are playing the Yankees that weekend, though. So I may have to flag that. We'll see. It's birthday weekend. We'll see. I'm not sure how many games, but we get out there a couple times a year. Normally, depending on where you're sitting, we like to come in the early part of the year before it gets, the older you get, the less you want to do the cold. Unless, a couple of years ago, I had a client who gave us, Putnam Club seats and that sort of thing. Yeah. At that point, I could care less what the weather is. But I expect we'll get out there for at least a game or two. And
that's good to hear.
9 or 8 or 10 and 7, I'd be happy with.
I'm in that 8 to 10 range myself. I think 8's the minimal number that they should hit, no question about it. But like I said, I think they can get maybe 4 to 5 of those games they lost last year, won this time around. And then hopefully, like I said, I think they got quite a few good draft picks this year. Before we came on the show, we talked about Travion Henderson.
God, I think he's the steal of the draft.
I
think he's going to be an A+ running back, and they just picked him out of. Obviously he's a stud at Ohio State, but I think he's going to change the whole dynamic of the offense.
I was watching the Oregon game, and I had money on Oregon in this game, and I lost all my money. Not all my money, but all the money I bet, I should say, all $5 of it. And I'm watching this guy just bomb down the right side of the field for like a 60, 70-yard run. I'm like, oh, my Lord. All of a sudden on draft night, I don't remember this guy's name at all. I see this. We drafted a running back from Ohio State. All of a sudden, they show the highlights. Like, wait a second, that's that dude from the game that just bombed out to the right for that touchdown, and he's a Patriot. I'm like, hell yeah. Then the first preseason game, he had that big kickoff return, which was nuts.
Right. And when is the last time? I know we were talking about this before. When is the last time the Patriots had a speed guy?
Brandon Tate
in the backfield, but like a skilled.
In the backfield.
Let me rephrase. A skilled speed guy. They had Cordero Patterson, right? Except he wasn't really skilled. He was just fast.
Yeah.
But this guy looks to me like, oh my God, they actually have an exciting offensive player in for years you see Miami, Kansas City, they have these guys that are just fast and running around doing stuff, and you're not used to that for the Patriots. So hopefully they will be good. We know they're not going to come in last place. That we know that. We know they're better than the Jets. We know
Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully he's got enough.
He's got issues, and he's got a bad wheel he's coming off of. He's not young, certainly a Hall of Fame wide receiver level guy, but I don't know. We'll see post injury, and we'll see what happens when he doesn't get enough balls the first couple of weeks. If that the good news is this is a Vrabel team, not a Mayo team, so that stuff that won't play.
I'm happy with the coaching decision. I was not high on Mayo. I wasn't negative about it, but I had hope for him. But Vrabel was, when he was coaching the Titans years back, he was very successful. People forget he got that team into the playoffs, and I was like, damn, it's too bad he decided to coach. It was a head coach before we had a chance to get him in here. But then it all just worked itself out naturally. Bob Kraft had the same thought in his mind and said, hey, let's get him hired. And I think my personal opinion is I think they waited out a year. And this whole thing was pre-designed in the background. And be like, don't worry, Mike, we're getting you in.
What is the over-under on games coached by Bill Belichick at UNC? Does he make it through the year?
I was all on board years ago for keeping him. And I was like, keep Belichick. He'll be in the league longer. And I'm not expecting, I was like, we can replace. I wasn't like necessarily we can replace Brady, but I was like, after Brady retires, we'll still have an extended period of time to win with Belichick post Brady retirement. What ends up happening is Brady wins the Super Bowl. Belichick absolutely never does anything ever again, and then just all this happens. And now I'm saying, geez, in retrospect, now I see why Brady fled New England.
Has there been anyone that you can think of who had the level of status that Belichick had? I mean, you're talking the greatest coach probably in like the 4 major sports or whatever. And then in the span of like 3 or 4 years has become this almost pathetic, embarrassing laughingstock where, he obviously flamed out of New England. He couldn't get an NFL job. Now he's shacking up with like a 19-year-old, crazy woman. And he's coaching this college team, and you wonder if why is he doing this? It's kind of a sad ending.
It is.
He doesn't get the Shula record after being a shoo-in for it, presumably. He's not going to get that. He's 74 years old or whatever it is. It's hard to imagine he's going to go anywhere. But man, did he end in a way? I hope he does well.
Embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I mean, it almost feels like he's being subjected to elder abuse by this crazy.
Right. Reminds me of Anna Nicole Smith when she was married to that guy in his 80s. You remember that?
My God. Howard Stern. It was the other Howard Stern.
Right. Yeah. Then I think the guy died a couple months in and she got no money?
Something like that. Howard Stern. Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm conflating.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. But it's like I said, Belichick is just an embarrassment now. Like I said, I was lobbying for him. I was like, I think Belichick's a better long-term plan than Brady because Brady has a limited time to play. And then after Brady was gone, I'm like, it's the Crafts. The Crafts are being stingy. They're holding Belichick back. Then all of a sudden I'm looking at the way Belichick's acting. I'm like, whoa, I was wrong about it. Plus, I don't have the benefit of knowing what's going on inside that locker room. But after seeing all that, someone said Patricia is the OC. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, well, and there he was yesterday. The defensive coordinator of Ohio State. Who knew? I didn't even know that until yesterday. Yeah. That's right. He made Patricia the offense. I mean, the arrogance. I mean, look, obviously they gambled wrong between Brady and Belichick. Kraft looks terrible. He can never live that down. He's trying to bring Brady back into the fold. But the reality is they made a mess out of the last 5 years. It's kind of sad that it kind of went down in flames the way it did because it's pretty much the greatest dynasty in the history of sports, and it just got so pathetic so fast. Where between Mayo and Mac Jones and just all this other stuff, for the last few years, when people say, "What's your opinion of the Patriots in the game?" Like, I'll watch, but who cares? Like,
right.
I care again. I'm kind of excited about
Yeah.
watching the game, so it'll be fun. It'll be a fun season to watch.
Absolutely, it's going to be awesome. Excited. Like I said, I'm pumped up, and then what I'm happy about is they're drafting kind of like how they did during the Parcells era again, where they're kind of going for the best players, and they kind of did that in the 70s to a degree as well with Sam Bam Cunningham and John Hanna and Steve Nelson and other guys like that. But with Belichick, it was always like, even guys like Edelman and Brady, they ended up being low-key picks that ended up being amazing, but he always tried to like go with smaller level players.
All straight.
Right.
I mean, he's got to be one of the worst draft picks in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen the meme of the image of Sean McVay, the Rams coach, when he learned that the Patriots drafted Cole Strange, and that look of like, what the hell did they just do? Like,
right.
But it was the Belichick arrogance. You couldn't question who he was. And, you saw the history they had with always drafting the wrong wide receiver before the stud.
Chad Jackson.
Well, it pains me to say this, but
N'Keal Harris, yeah. N'Keal Harry, yeah.
He was
over DK Metcalf.
N'Keal Harry was an ASU guy, up for that, and he turned out to be useless. And all these guys they didn't draft, and they just constantly, they're drafting like punters in the 3rd round, and they're just
trading their 1st round pick every year used to drive me nuts. So they trade back every time. It was like, what are you guys doing? And like, we always just give them the benefit of the doubt. And it was like, come on, man. And like I said, some of these players they hit on.
What I think the Patriots should do is, the Brady era obviously is over. Okay. And obviously Brady and that 20 years of dominance is associated with, flying Elvis, right?
Yeah.
But let's all agree, Pat Patriot is one of the greatest logos and color scheme uniforms in any sport, professional or college. And it's synonymous with, let's be honest, the Patriots sucking. Okay. And they suck. They did. And the time is now to reboot, not twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to the bright red, the white helmets, the white pants, bring it back, and let the Brady era and flying Elvis go away and be part of history. Bring it back full time. I don't know why they're not doing that. It is just such a good logo, such a good uniform, and it's such a wasted opportunity that they're not using that full time. That's my view. I'm big on uniforms.
So on the fence. But I will say this, though. I actually thought the old school uniforms with the white jersey and the white pants, with the white helmet, white jersey, white pants, was one of the best looks ever.
Clean. And I even liked it when they would, in the 80s, pull out the red pants with the white shirts. It was just a great look. And, yes, it's synonymous with Tony Eason getting beat up and William Refrigerator Perry's,
Blair won't stop in the chat. He keeps saying that'll move the chains.
I mean, I remember once talking to some Bears fan. I think it's Bob Motta, actually, of, Diaries, who's a big Chicago Bears fan. And we were talking about that disgraceful Super Bowl. And I said, but I have to know the honest opinion. How do you feel as a, traditional Chicago Bears fan that William the Refrigerator Perry scored a touchdown and Walter Payton didn't in the Super Bowl?
Oh,
I mean, that was disgraceful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's that was horrible. I was too young for that one, but in retrospect, when I learned about that, I was like, Walter Payton's one of the, I'm going to say the second best running back of all time. I'm going to say Jim Brown was number 1 in my opinion, but I'd say non-power back, Payton's number 1 probably. What's your thoughts?
Emmitt Smith. He was just loved Emmitt Smith, but Walter Payton was more aesthetically pleasing. You know, he ran, but I think for pure entertainment, if you watch like old film, Earl Campbell. You go to YouTube videos of him just trucking through guys. Yeah. There's a reason why Earl Campbell only had like a 5 or 6 year career or whatever it was, but you watch footage of him just mowing through guys as like a force of nature. He was just a beast. I think he was the most entertaining. But yeah, no, I loved Emmitt Smith.
Five player question. Any 5 Patriots all time? Offense, defense, kickers, or otherwise. Who are your five absolute Patriots?
Well, it's going to be
also brings.
I mean, obviously, it's got to be Brady.
Well, let's do this. I'm going to make it even more fun. Let's sweeten this up. You already get Brady. Pick 5 more. There you go.
All-time Patriots.
All time.
Edelman's got to be there. Gronk. I'm a huge Vince Wilfork guy. Loved him. Just a complete. Other all-time. Let me go back into. I mean, I remember growing up. I liked Raymond Claiborne. If you remember him, cornerback.
Before my time, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, there weren't that many guys that were great back then. Andre Tippett, I love.
Yeah, oh yeah,
was another one.
Oh yeah, he was awesome.
And the last one I'll throw in there, just because you got to love the name, is Mosi Tutupu, obviously.
Yep, Lofa Tutupu's dad, who played for the Seahawks. Yep,
great.
Yep, I think I got to go with Gronk and Edelman for sure. Randy Moss. I got 2 more picks. I'm going to go with Andre Tippett for sure. I'm going to go with Ty Law. Andre Tippett and Ty Law on defense.
I love Ty Law. I should have said him even before Raymond Claiborne. I wanted to go back to that era, but in the early dynasty Super Bowl Patriots, they were a defense team, and Brady was, I don't know, I wouldn't say game manager, but he wasn't,
right. Brady to come, yeah.
Those teams were amazing, and of course, the Ty Law interception pick 6 in the Super Bowl, let's be honest, was the first moment where you really said, oh my God, they may actually win the Super Bowl. Like,
that's right.
That was the Ty Law pick 6 was the equivalent of the Johnny Damon grand slam at Yankee Stadium.
Yep.
Where you're just like, holy crap, it's happening.
Yep. I went crazy. I was in college at the time. It was me and probably like 10 of my buddies, and a lot of them were from New York, and some of them were from Rhode Island that were Patriots fans. And I when I saw that interception happen, I looks like a rocket almost through the ceiling. I was going crazy when that happened. And it's a great point, because going back to the Packers Super Bowl and the Bears Super Bowl, the Patriots never really seemed to have. They did some, the Packers game, they had a couple amazing moments where they got touchdowns, but there was never like that big bang bang kind of play. And when that Ty Law interception happened, it was like, oh, here we go. They have a shot at this, and
yeah, no, that was stunning. And the Rams were like so favored in that, and it's right after 9/11, and they're called the Patriots. I mean, it was just the fates had lined up, to make that a great way. But I can tell you the Damon grand slam for me, like the loud moment where, and I was living in Manhattan at the time and surrounded by Yankees fans, and
that was so huge.
That was like that was the release of all the years, because even when they came back in that series and it was Game 7, and if you remember, Ortiz hit a home run in the first inning. They took a lead. They dominated that Game 7. You were still inclined, even though they'd won 3 straight, to say something's going to happen, just because it's the Red Sox. And it was the Damon grand slam when you knew it was done. I mean, the Yankees were just cooked.
That is perfectly stated, because we were all nervous. Everyone I knew, my buddies at the time, I was still in college at that time. This was years later now, 2 years later now. But I was sitting there, and we were nervous, like, oh, because that's what we thought. We're gonna come all the way, tie the series in an epic fashion, have a meltdown. The Yankees are going,
right? Make me a believer. They're gonna do what the Celtics did a couple of years ago against Miami, and I was at that Game 7. God, that pissed me off. But
my grandfather asked me that summer, he's like, who's going to win? What's the World Series going to be this year? I go, it's going to be the Yankees and the Cardinals. The Red Sox will not get there. And I actually thought, here's my take. The Red Sox in 2004 were far superior, in my opinion, than the 2003 Sox for one reason. Well, 2 reasons. Poppy was better, and then they had Curt Schilling in that lineup. And then the thing was about the Yankees in 2004 was, they gained A-Rod. But I think they lost Alfonso Soriano, Roger Clemens, and Andy Pettitte. if I'm not mistaken. We lost Todd Walker, I think, second baseman, Mr. October. You
Uh,
had him in 03.
I think 04. I mean, I could be wrong. I think Pettit was still on the Yankees. I'm not sure, but I do. I mean, I remember that year, and even 03. I mean, I went to a ton of Red Sox Yankees games, mostly in New York.
Yeah.
And in 04, I went to the playoff game in Yankee Stadium, the Who's Your Daddy game with Pedro. That was just brutal to go to. And I went to in 04 also the famous Jeter Nomar game where Nomar was pouting on the bench in the dugout and Jeter was diving me to the 10th row with a bloody face. And that was like the low watermark actually of 04. I mean, they got Nomar out of town like within a week after they lost that game. I don't know if you remember that game where Jeter jumped into, behind third base into the crowd and Nomar was pouting. And
right.
Those games, you know what? I think you're right. Maybe there was no Pettit. They had David Wells.
No Pettit in 03. I confirmed. I like that baseball reference. He was gone. So him and Clemens left together to go to Houston in 04. So they lost. We lost Todd Walker, gained Schilling. They lost Pettit, Clemens, and Alfonso Soriano, but gained A-Rod. And I said to myself, man, I expected, like, even if they lost the series, it was going to be just like 03, at least a 7-game series. Well, it ended up being that way, but for the longest time in that series, it was not going that way, especially in game 3 was the death blow because they lost the first 2 games in New York, but then they're in Fenway Park on a Saturday night. And I watched that whole game. I didn't even change it. And it's 19-8.
And
coincidentally,
it sucked because I went in 04. I went to 2 games in that series in the Yankees series. Games 1 and 2 at Yankee Stadium.
Oh.
The shit games. Yeah, the games that, the Who's Your Daddy game and the game 2 loss with Schilling. Not the game, not the bloody sock game, but the one where he got injured.
Right.
And it was like leaving there depressing. And then game 3, it was just like, my God, this team is never going to win.
Right.
Game 4, I remember watching game 5 with a lot of people, the extra inning games with Ortiz. And, then game 6, bloody sock game. And then you're like, wow, please don't. Like whatever you did, I had 2 concerns, please don't go all the way back to blow this in game 7. And then after they finally beat the Yankees, I was like, the next Red Sox thing we'll do will be to make it to the World Series and flame out and not win. And let's not pretend this is then what did they do? They just trucked the Cardinals in 4 straight. It was great.
The only game that was eventful in that series was the first. Yeah, that first game, that game 1 of that World Series was probably the most entertaining game 1 I think I've ever seen. It was just, it was like a home run derby all night. Bellhorn? Yeah, Bellhorn and Pesky Pull was game 1. Right. Yeah, that was nuts. Oh, man. And Schilling pitched game. So it was Wakefield pitched game 1, Schilling pitched game 2, Pedro pitched game 4, and Lowell pitched game 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Game 4 was, I think it was
Lowe.
Was it Derek Lowe?
It was. It was Wakefield and Pedro. Then it was Pedro. Excuse me. It was Wakefield, Clement. Excuse me. Wakefield, Schilling.
Yeah, I think
Pedro was 3.
Yeah. Was Lowe? Lowe might have been game 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lowe was 4. Yeah, that was a heck of a lineup. When you got Derek Lowe and Wakefield as your 3-4 pitchers, and I think that's what the issue was with that team the year before, was that they just needed that one extra pitcher. And I know people have their opinions about Schilling, but as a player alone, they had those 2 aces. Then you had those 2 home run hitters in Ortiz and Manny. And then after that, you just fill the rest of your roster out with sufficient baseball players like Johnny Damon, Keith Polk,
Miller, Millar.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Fate works in a mysterious way because if you remember after, 03 was a fiasco, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, you're like, it's Aaron Boone, whatever. And then what happens is, okay, well, guess what? The Red Sox are getting Alex Rodriguez. Like, wow. I mean, they literally, they had him. They had him and Maglio Ordonez. They were getting rid of Manny and whatever. And they had it. And this was going to be amazing. And then the union, I was talking about I made a joke about this earlier with Kim, biggest asshole in Major League Baseball, but the union fought in his behalf because they thought, he was giving up too much money. And then they end up sending, him to New York. And you're like, they're always going to be the little brother, right? They're just always going to be.
Yeah.
And then, there was the Theo Epstein Thanksgiving dinner with Kurt Schilling, if you remember all that.
Yeah.
And, he lured him in, and then you said, wow, okay, this is actually better, even though A-Rod was much younger. Schilling was Schilling. And then, boom. Then they became they've won 4 championships, which is crazy.
And how do you beat the Yankees, right? Look at the 2001 World Series. Schilling was the second ace in that lineup. Randy Johnson was number 1. They beat him with a 1-2 punch. And then they had Luis Gonzalez, who had that real big hit, I think, game 6 or 7. I think it was a 7-game series. Randy Johnson pitched game 6. Schilling pitched game 7. Then Randy Johnson relieved in 7 in 01, that was a great World Series. That was wild. But I'm telling you, that was kind of the formula to beat the Yankees. You had to have those 2 aces, and if you did,
obviously I hate the Yankees. I got to tell you, though, that 2001 World Series, those were strange times. I mean,
it was.
If you were living in Manhattan and it was right after 9/11, it was just surreal. I think that series ended up going into November because there was a delay because of all the whatever. I mean, this was a strange place to be around that time. It still smelled funny. It was still just all kinds of bad things going on. And, here are the Yankees, and that really was the American story. And not that I was rooting for them, but
I believe they were a wild card that year. They were underperforming that whole season. They weren't as good as they were the 3 years prior when they
beat Seattle, which set the record.
Right.
Regular season wins.
Right. Yeah, I think A-Rod was on that team.
Edgar Martinez was on that. Ben Griffey was on that.
Right.
Randy Johnson. I mean, they were,
No, actually, Randy Johnson, no, because he was on the Diamondbacks. That's right. Sorry.
One. Yeah.
I think.
No, he was on Arizona in 01. You're right. No Randy.
Yeah.
I could be conflating to the Jay Buhner. Remember him?
Right.
He was good on
wild.
Seattle. Yeah, no, Seattle was good then, but they flamed out in the playoffs. The Yankees.
Yeah. Of all years they won, though, the thing was they won at 96, 98, 99, and 2000. And right after 9/11, you're like, oh, they're gonna will their way right through this thing. And then even Arizona, though, did not look. Same thing happened in 03 with the Marlins. The Marlins and Diamondbacks did not look like they were. Like everyone thought, the Red Sox or Yankees in 03 are going to beat the Marlins, no question. And then in reality, it probably meant either one of them was going to beat the Marlins. And nobody was.
The only compliment you could say to the Red Sox in losing in 03 was they wiped out the Yankees' will. I mean, they just. I mean, the Yankees were 1,000 times better than the Marlins on paper, but I mean, they were done. I mean, they had a series that they were. I mean, that was one of the most epic 7-game series you'll ever see.
Yeah.
And they ran into, old friend Josh Beckett, right? Who just destroyed them.
Right.
Destroyed them.
Yeah. That was a great team. They had who they had? Pudge. They had Pudge Rodriguez on the Marlins. So they had a quietly good team, which was shocking. But
they had the John Henry model, right? Get good teams, win a few, and then sell and break down. And I mean, obviously, I can't stand him as the owner of the Red Sox. On the other hand, the guys won 6 World Series in 2 ownership groups. It's crazy.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, it's they haven't been to the World Series in 7 years now. It's the chances of going this year or whatever, but they might get a wild card. They're definitely
getting a wild card. I mean, I don't think they're going to the World Series this year, but they have good young signed talent, and Roman Anthony is just what a stud. I mean, that guy is. I love the makeup of their team, but they've still got too many holes. They've got just a few roster holes, a few stiffs. They're not going to win the World Series, but they're fun again for the first time in years too. I mean, they're going to be good. And this rookie pitcher they had the other night that everyone loved, Peyton Toll with the mustache.
Right.
Guy was great.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see them win again. It's like I said, I was kind of cool with them winning it like once every couple of years. I'm like, if they win it every like 3 to 4 to 5 years, I'm like, I'm cool with that plan.
I'm good with that. Yeah. I'm I like their young talent. I mean, it's good. They've got good young pitching. They're signed. There's no reason why they just need to spend the way they used to. It's been very frustrating how cheap they've been. And, they're clearly a better team without Devers. I get it. I mean, it's obvious, but couldn't they get something of value for him? I mean, they got nothing for him. And, was there nothing they could do at the deadline better than Dustin May, who is, my God, is he another one who's just awful?
Yeah. Oh, it was a terrible trade. And Dever was just a disaster. Then, he turned out to be just as bad for the Giants. It was like, sometimes you think players have an issue with the team. They're underperforming because of that. Then they get traded. And same thing happened with Pablo Sandoval. When they sent Pablo Sandoval here, we all thought we were getting another Manny, and then he turned out to be a disaster.
The problem with Pablo Sandoval is what you got with him were like 87 cheeseburgers a day. I mean, that guy,
accurate.
Probably the most unfit professional athlete. I mean, I remember pictures, they would show him warming up at third base, and he was so obese. And I mean, it was embarrassing. I mean, I know baseball is a little different than some of the sports, but I mean, he was just,
horrible. It was embarrassing. Like they brought in so many players over the years. Like Carl Crawford, I thought was going to work out.
I was so excited when they got Carl Crawford, and he just sucked. Adrian Gonzalez, same thing.
Yeah,
he just never. He was
Edgar Renteria from the Cardinals. They picked up him, and then I thought, oh my God, this is great, and then he was nothing.
It
happens.
Yeah, and then they went through that period where they just basically gave away Mookie Betts, which is one of the most unforgivable things. I mean, that guy.
I have a theory on that trade.
Oh, what's that?
You want to hear my theory on that trade? Is that because of the whole cheating allegation that the league made an under the table offer to the Red Sox to just deal their best player to Los Angeles in exchange for not losing a World Series ring? That's always been my conspiracy theory on that. That's why they made such a boneheaded trade.
That one, I mean, the guy was like a model citizen, an MVP player, worshipped, loved.
Oh, yeah.
He was everything you wanted.
Live tool.
And to give him away for, Alex Verdugo,
Jeter
Downs, and who the hell can even remember? Doesn't even matter. But, that was terrible.
Horrible. Well, Mark, I can't thank you enough for. Exactly. No, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show tonight, and I appreciate just everything you've done for the Free Karen Reed community. Serving Aiden as his attorney as well, and just helping him fight, and then just everything you brought to not only just the 3M shows and the Young Jerks, but every other show you participated in. It's been invaluable. Your expert opinion and insight day by day as everything's live. It's been very educational, and it's good to have an attorney to kind of, like the Glare always says, he always likes to have when he has a theory. I feel the same way. When I have a theory, and someone like Attorney Mark Bederow validate that this is, am I seeing what I'm seeing? Is this accurate? So we appreciate that.
I'm still processing and trying to validate the Mookie Betts theory, because
I know, right? Yeah.
Years later, I'm still pissed off, and I'm willing to accept any explanation for the inexplicable. So I'm gonna have to think about that one.
Right. Oh my goodness, Mark. Once again, hey, thank you so much. And when's your next appearance? Nurse Kim again coming up, or
nothing scheduled right now. Just working away, very busy. I'm a morning person, so I'm for this last several days before we get into post Labor Day. I'm one of those guys. I'll make a pot of coffee at 5 a.m. and start cracking, grind through these motions and other things, and then, just get through it. So I don't have anything scheduled, just busy. People ask. I try to do it if I can. Like talking to you, obviously. I'm glad we reconnected. And, other than that, just do what I got to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll get in touch with you about maybe a show, maybe sometime in September, towards maybe not around the 24th. You're going to be busy there with Aiden, but maybe some point in November, September, or maybe early October or something. I'll get in contact. I know you're busy with everything, so
let me know. I'll be in Massachusetts twice now in September. I guess weekend after next, and then for court later in the month.
Perfect. Excellent. All right, we'll be in touch, and then hey, hopefully I'll run into you if you come out this way, and we'll hopefully see each other. And hey, you never know what's in the plans.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Mark. Have a great one. Mark Bederow, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the show. All right, so we'll wrap it just a moment here. Yeah, Nurse Cam had a fantastic show this morning. She's had a Mark on frequently, which has been good. A very good conversation between them is often had, and it's good to have a medical expert and an attorney who can discuss the Karen Reed case. It has both a medical and legal perspective on it, so it's a great pairing there. So I always enjoy Mark Bederow's appearances, even when he's on. A lot of times, the other attorneys is good too, and he pairs with other attorneys and has a discussion with them on legal matters is always fantastic as well. So great. So let's see. So I think we're good to roll here. I think that's it for tonight. I don't see anything else. Alyssa Jett, thank you for your super sticker tonight. And then that's it. So I think we're good. I don't know when I'm back live again either right now. I'll figure it out. I don't know what's going to happen going into next week. I don't know if I might do a quick pop-up show. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I think I'm just going to rest tomorrow and relax, enjoy Labor Day, and then maybe I'll do something next Saturday. I'm going to be busy. I got plans next Saturday, but we'll see what I end up doing. But it should be good. But great having Mark Bederow here. That was great. I haven't had him on the show in some time. I'm like, I got to reach out to him and just invite him on and have a nice one-on-one conversation, which was fantastic. It's good to have him on and touch base with him a little bit and catch up and talk sports, of course. Yeah, I had the I'll play the ice cream video real quick. Hold on. Let me play the ice cream video for you guys. I made ice cream. So I think we'll wrap up a couple minutes here. Let's see what we got. So I uploaded some footage today. And let me get this going for you guys. All right, and then let's get that played up. I'll just get the ad out of the way, and then let's do this. Okay. And let's share. Let's remove this actually, and let's get stop screen. Present. Yeah, I'd like to get everybody a scoop of that ice cream. I made too much of it. That's the problem. That's really the problem. So I decided to call the ice cream. The ice cream is called MazzaMedia's Candy and Oreo Madness Vanilla Ice Cream. So yeah, if you want to taste the kebabs, let me know, Jen. Absolutely. All right, so here we go. All right, so let's get this played up. So I just out of nowhere decided I wanted to make ice cream. This was just my plan. I'm like, I just want to make ice cream. I don't know why. I don't know what came over me. But just suddenly out of nowhere, for the first time in my life, I just wanted to home make ice cream and load it up with candy. So I don't know how. Maybe I just had ice cream one day and thought of it. I don't even know how, but just suddenly I was making it. So here we go. Heavy. Then you whip it. You whip it up for as long as you need to. So I never knew it was just heavy cream was one of the big key ingredients. I never knew this. Well, I knew cream was involved, obviously, but heavy cream, you whip this thing up nice and good. Then from there, you're pretty much halfway done already. So you whip that up. Now, I made a whole quart of heavy cream, so I needed to add 2 cans of this condensed milk. So I put the recipe in the video. So 2 cans of this, you dump that in there. And then this is where I got confused. So was it 2 tablespoons or 2 tablespoons for the quart? 4 tablespoons or 4 teaspoons. So I put 4 tablespoons. Then I found most of the websites said 4 teaspoons. So I ended up taking some of the vanilla extract out. So I went with 4 teaspoons of this. So I dumped in 2 cans of carnation sweetened condensed milk and 4 teaspoons of the extract into the cream here. So you mix that all up. Now, once you get to this point right here, you realize that you're not going to mess this up at all. That's the one thing I realized about this. Once you get to this point, you look at it, it looks just like soft serve ice cream. You're like, okay, great, I'm home free. Now, basically, if I don't proceed further, I have perfectly made vanilla ice cream. But if I do proceed further, I can just add ingredients or whatever. So I knew at this point I had nailed it. Then it's on to the candy. Now, this is where I go insane now. All right, so M&M's. Love milk chocolate M&M's. Reese's peanut butter cups. Now, I actually added 6 cups. I had actually already thrown away the bag of 4. It actually, believe it or not, fun fact, this was actually an empty bag. And I forget to do my screenshot, my quick video shot of the Reese's peanut butter cup. So there's actually no Reese's. They're already all cut up or whatever. So I cut up the Reese's peanut butter cups, sliced them up, diced them up, and that's what I did. So I did that. And then I threw the Kit Kats and the M&Ms and the Butterfingers and the Oreos. And I just threw them in a big Ziploc bag and I grinded them and smashed them up, right? So I didn't want to buy a real formal bag of Oreo cookies because I didn't want to eat that many cookies. So I just bought the mini bag, which was perfect for me. So I used that. And then I smashed it all up. And then so basically just dump it on there like that. I didn't really smash up those M&Ms as much as I wanted to. I kind of gave up. And so there it is. The peanut butter cups are actually at the bottom. They're hidden. But you got the M&Ms, the Butterfinger. The Butterfinger was the hardest to break up. Kit Kats were easy. Then you get all this. Oreo cookies are the number one product, though, to have in ice cream, I think, though. So you got all of this mixed up. And now you're going to mix it together. And then, boom, there you go. So now you got it all mixed in. Now, what's great about the heavy cream is that you can mix it up. And now I never made ice cream before in my life. So now I know, okay, this is how this works. It's thick. Now it's all intermixed. Now all you got to do is freeze this thing, which is great. And I can admit this was a lot of fun to do last night. All right, so then this is this morning. So like 10:30, I got up, I had breakfast, and I actually made this video and had a scoop of ice cream right after this because I couldn't wait to have it. It was too late last night to eat it. So this is it all frozen. I actually transferred bowls because I needed a smaller bowl to get it in the freezer. So this fit perfectly. And I must have moved around a little bit because some of these M&Ms came to the top. But at this point, it was perfect. I was like, okay, look, I made ice cream. Now, I got to admit, the taste was fantastic. All right, so now I got my scooper. And then there's a big scoop. Look at that scoop. Now, look at that. Look at that. Look at that right there. Is that beautiful or what? Look at that. Look at the color, the green color from the M&M. Look at the cookies in there and the Butterfingers, the Kit Kats, the Reese's peanut butter cups. Yeah, so I had eggs. Then I had a scoop of ice cream. And then I went for a 3.5-mile walk afterwards. So I got my exercise in. Believe me, I got my exercise today. So I got planned. I'm going to have a little bit of ice cream. You know, I'm going to be a little bit out of control today and probably tomorrow. But I'm doing this. So look at all that right there. That is fantastic. And so I ate that. It tasted so good. Actually, I'll be honest, I think I had a little bit more vanilla extract than I needed. So I think that extra, maybe like 5 teaspoons instead of 4 teaspoons, cranks up the flavor. But I'm telling you right now, I did have another, after I had my kebabs this evening, I had another scoop of it. I'm going to have another scoop after this show. I kind of divided up my ice cream intake throughout the day because I'm going a little crazy because I don't usually eat this bad, but I am this weekend. Screw it. So I taste this, and I start to realize as I'm eating this that I have entirely forgotten that I homemade this. I'm just thinking that because it just tasted no different than ice cream you'd usually just buy in the store. And the frozen, it just tasted so natural, right? And it was just like, oh yeah, that's right. I made this myself. I forgot, you know, but it was fantastic. I'll tell you that much. And then boom, there you go. There's the final scoop right there. Look at that. Beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. All right. So now let's remove this for a sec. Let's play the kebab video. All right. So on the weekends, I like to cook. I might start putting up food videos more often because I love to cook. And all my friends know me over the years for posting food videos. Anyways, it's always been my thing. I just love to do it. Every time I go out to eat, I always take a picture of what I eat. It's just what I do. It's how I'm made. I don't care. But I'm going to show you the kebab video. This is really good stuff. Let's get an ad playing here. So I'm just going to wait for it. Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm going to show you guys what to do. All right, so what you need to do is you need to have, what I use is these metal tongs. I like the metal tongs better than the wooden tongs, the wooden sticks. So I buy these like 8-piece metal kebab sticks. You can buy them like in the utensil area, not the utensil area, where you have like spatulas and spoons and all that, and frying pans in your grocery store. So you get them in that area. So what I do is after I made the ice cream last night and put it in the freezer, I get chicken breast. And then I just cut it into cubes. And then I throw it in a mixing bowl. And then what I do is I just buy teriyaki marinade. And just buy any marinade you want. Lowry's is really good. There's a couple other ones that are really good. And what you do is you just dump in enough teriyaki sauce and then mix it. So you cut up the chicken, put it in the bowl. You put the teriyaki sauce in the bowl, mix the chicken in nice and good. Then what I do too is I put pepper and I use garlic salt for this mix. Okay, so pepper, garlic salt, teriyaki marinade. I mix that all up nice. All right, mix it up, cover it with foil, throw that in the fridge. I let it sit. I don't put anything on these tongs till the day of when I'm ready to cook. So I do it right before I'm going to grill. I don't want this stuff on the metal overnight. I don't want it in the fridge on metal. I don't want to do that. Okay. After I get done with the chicken, I cut up the peppers and the onions. Now, I usually use 2 peppers for this amount, and then I use usually either 1 giant onion or 2 medium-sized onions, slice it all up, and I go chicken, then onion, then pepper, chicken, then onion, then pepper. And I just repeat that process all the way up. Until I run out of peppers, usually I might take a couple peppers off, some of them just to compensate the last one. Today I didn't do that. I just made one that had just all onions on it, but it was fantastic. So here we go.
I love cooking so much. It's one of my favorite things to do. I just love it so much.
Love it.
It's good. I ran out of peppers, so I just made one with like chicken and onions, which is cool. Green peppers, onions. It's always my.
Now, the thing is, too, about kebabs, is your local grocery market is going to scam you on price when it comes to kebabs. They're going to charge, like when you buy this chicken breast, it costs like $10, okay? Your peppers cost you like $1.50. Your onions cost you like $1.50. So at the end of the day, $13, $14 plus your teriyaki marinade, you're spending maybe $16, $16, $17 tops, right? Which is not too bad for like a dinner that's going to get a couple meals. You can have it for lunch, you can have it for dinner, you can have it the next day, you can have it next afternoon and evening. So you get 2 meals, 2 days worth of meals out of it, right? So when I go to the grocery market, they usually give you like a kebab that maybe has 3 or 4 pieces on it tops. They're charging you like $5 to $6.99 a pound for it. By the time you get 3 of them that are about half of a half, so say like these 4 on the left, think about half of that. They're going to charge you like $15, $14, $15 for half, like for 1/4 of the amount of chicken and kebab that I have on this grill right now. It's going to cost me probably shy of like $1 or $2 of what I could get for all of this. So that's one of the things about kebabs. Always home make them yourself. You're going to cut down. You're going to cut down on price, and you're going to get more food for your money. That's the key, because they always overcharge you. They think they're making something grandiose. It's not that hard to make this stuff yourself. It takes a little bit of effort, but it's worth it in the long run. So yeah, I am an army. Nice picture of Nan there. But that's the key, is never buy kebabs pre-made, because it just cut the chicken yourself, cut the vegetables yourself, buy some kebab sticks. The metal ones are reusable, so you don't have to buy them every single time. But yeah, like I said, I did this all for like $16, $17 compared to like, I think I actually bought them pre-made a couple weeks ago. I paid like, the ones I bought, I posted one where I posted it I think it was last Sunday. I posted the chicken and beef ones I made. And that cost me like more money than I want to admit, because I got lazy last week and I didn't want to cook. I didn't want to prepare it. But it's so much more cost effective to do this yourself.
Always my go-to. So we'll get this thing grilling up.
Now, I'm in my happy place when I cook. That's all I have to tell you. I love cooking. I love everything. I love preparing food. I love it all.
These will be ready soon.
It's a hobby. And like with the ice cream, I just challenged myself to make ice cream to see if I could actually do it. This is the midway through the cooking time now. They're starting to get the skewer marks on it.
It's getting there. It's getting there. Looking and good.
Basically, the size of the chicken is if you take your index finger and point it to your thumb. That's basically how big you want to make it. Cube it.
Looking real good.
I use like big tongs for this too, so I can kind of grab them and turn them. That's sometimes the hardest part.
Oh yeah.
Now, one of the keys too is you want to add, will I marry you? Why not? Let's do it. So I always add more teriyaki. So I marinate it in teriyaki sauce. Then I take extra teriyaki sauce and I layer it and drizzle it all over the teriyaki kebabs here. Chicken kebabs, all right? Yeah, skewers. Yeah, skewers, Cynthia, you're right. So then I flip it. So I let this cook in for a couple minutes. And then I flip it. And then I drizzle it even more on the opposite side. So that way both sides get a little bit of an extra drizzle. What's good about this at this point is you're going to have, when you put this on the plate, the kebab, the teriyaki sauce, and the juice from the chicken is going to leak on the plate. This is what you want, okay? You want your plate, once you're done, this big serving plate, you want the juice to build up, and you want the teriyaki sauce that you're adding to drizzle into the chicken juice that's marinated in the teriyaki sauce to create almost like a liquid gravy. And then once you put it on your plate, what you want to do is you want to take a spoon, and you want to take the spoon and get the liquid, and then you want to layer it all over the chicken once it's on the plate that you're going to eat on. Okay, so now you have more juice for your chicken kebabs. This will help if any point of your chicken is moist. Now, here's the grilling tip that I have. I don't over grill these at all. I grill them where I see enough burn marks, but I like it to be moist in the center. I don't want it to be dry in the center. So I'll grill this just enough where I think it's done, and just a little bit. And what's good about this is, here's the point though, this food, with the exception of teriyaki sauce, is extremely healthy for you, because if you're over in a keto diet, the chicken, the peppers, and onions is all good for you. So you're not going to gain any bad weight. The teriyaki sauce is going to have some sugar, some carbs. But if you do it without the teriyaki sauce, then it's a lot more low carb. So this is actually a lot better. A lot of protein. This is great post-workout. So this is fantastic. So look at that. Look at that. Listen to that. See how quiet the sizzle is here? But watch when the teriyaki sauce goes on. Listen to this.
Looking real good.
Here it comes.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to that. Look at the smoke. Look at the smoke coming off that. All right. All right, good. I got that off the screen. Good. I don't want the ad to get my video flagged. But yeah, that's the key, is the juice from the kebabs will leak once you let them sit in that plate. Then take the juice and just layer it all over the kebabs again. You'll have juicy, moist chicken that tastes really, really good. The peppers and onions are cooked. Like, people like tomatoes. Some people like red peppers. I'm usually green pepper, and onion is usually my go-to on this. I might actually add red pepper next time around, but I have not made, a couple of years back, I made kebabs a lot. Then I got away from it. And this year, I kind of got back into it this summer. I don't know why, but I just suddenly did. Might have been 4th of July. I got back into it. And, it's fantastic. So fantastic. You know what I might do again soon is Fiesta Lime Chicken, Applebee's. I home make it myself, and it's way better than Applebee's. Yeah, I did that a couple of years ago, and you just, what you do is you get your chicken breast like this, right? You want to slice it down the middle, so your chicken breast goes like that. Now you got 2 pieces. You're going to grill the individual pieces like that. So if you get like 4 of them, slit them down the middle, you got like 8 pieces. You grill those. I marinate those in teriyaki sauce too. Then I grill them. Then, I also marinate it in teriyaki sauce plus lime juice. Give it more of a Mexican kick. I grill the chicken. Then once I'm pretty much done grilling the chicken, I put spicy ranch sauce on it right when it's on the grill. Then I layer that in cheese. It's the, whatever that cheese is that's white and yellow. It's mixed white and yellow cheese. Whatever that kind of cheese is. What is it? White and yellow cheese. What is it? Colby Jack cheese. So then I have the chicken on the grill, and then I put the spicy ranchero sauce on it, or ranch sauce. Then I put the Colby Jack cheese on all the pieces of the chicken. All right. And then from there, the grilled chicken's done. Then I cook Mexican rice from Goya. Then I get pico de gallo, which is a salsa. It's a pepper. It's a, red tomato onion mix. Then I get those tortilla strips, or like the colored strips, like red, black, and regular color. And I put the chicken on the tortilla strips. Then I put the pico de gallo all over the chicken. Then I serve a lime and rice on the side. And it is phenomenal. You're going to want to eat this forever. It is so good. I made that on Cinco de Mayo a couple of years ago. I may have to do that again, but just not on Cinco de Mayo, because Cinco de Mayo is already come and gone. So those are some of my cooking tips. I love to cook. I don't cook all the time. But when I do, I try to get a little extravagant. I also make a chicken teriyaki dinner based on Sarku, Japan. And that is, it's the Japanese food court. If you've ever been to like the Natick Mall or the Salmon Pond Mall or I think it's the Braintree, South Shore Plaza Mall, I think they all have them. And what they do is they make white rice, layer that on the plate, and then they cover it in sliced carrots, sliced broccoli, and sliced green cabbage. They put that on top of the rice. Then what you do is you cut up. Yeah, see, there you go, Jeno. You know what I'm talking about. Then what you do is you take boneless chicken thighs, and you're going to cut them into little pieces like that. You're going to dice. It pays to have a meat knife. All right, and I slice that up repeatedly, okay? Then I throw it in my I have a giant, I used to use the skillet. Now I use a giant frying pan that's like non-stick. Throw it in that, cook it up. Got to get the juice out of it every so often. Cook it in that. Skillet that thing right up. Then I add olive oil. Then I add cooking sherry. Then I add garlic, salt, pepper. Keep mixing it up. Then I add in soy sauce. Mix it up. Then once it's completely done, teriyaki sauce goes in. Mix that up. Let that simmer for 2 minutes. I can already tell I'm watching a football game, because usually I do it during football season. It's like my winter thing. And then I cook it right up. And it's white rice covered by sauteed broccoli, carrots, and green cabbage, covered with the chicken teriyaki. It is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. Takes a lot of work, though. It's a lot of preparation, but I'm determined to do it. And actually, one of the things that cost me to put on a lot of weight 10 years ago is I used to make that all the time. I used to make with tons of rice, a ridiculous amount of rice. My face was just like, boop, 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 boop. Then I had to lose all the weight eventually. So, but no, it's great meals. Some of my favorite things to make, no question about it. I absolutely enjoy it. The taste test. Jeno wants to be a part of it. She says, Caroline Forth, oh, great. You're invited to the taste test, right, Mazza? You approve. Caroline's bringing the peppers. That sounds good. I know Noodles wants the address. I made homemade Chinese, speaking of noodles, one time. I made shrimp lo mein. So there's a special kind of noodles. So I just buy usually Lowry's teriyaki sauce, but any teriyaki sauce will typically do. I didn't use Lowry's today. I love that he thinks I'm kidding. Hey. That's funny. What else was I say? Oh, so I made homemade shrimp lo mein one time. So what you do is, it's a little bit trickier. So I buy like the pre-packaged KN May or whatever they're called, noodles. Oh, I used to make fajitas, Jemmy. Oh, I used to make fajitas, especially during the Olympics, Winter Olympics one year. I was making them like crazy. But I made shrimp lo mein. And basically what you do is you put the noodles in like hot water and just get them loose. Then you throw them in the pan. And it's interesting what you do for this. You use soy sauce, oyster sauce, and some kind of seed sauce. And you mix it in. And then before that, I saute carrots, onions, mushrooms, a couple different things, mix it all up. And it came out fantastic. I remember one year I made my own crab ragoons. It was interesting. You use cream cheese, green onions, and then imitation crab meat. Mix that all together. My nose is getting itchy, sorry. Nose gets so itchy from the fan. Fan causes that every now and then. So I made the filling, and then you get like these little sheets. They almost look like American cheese slices, but they're really like some kind of sheet. And that's what they usually use for crab ragoons. They're called, I forget what they're called, but you make those, you fill them with the crab ragoon mix, you let it sit overnight. Sesame seed oil, that's what it was, Gwen. Thank you. And then I forget what they use for wonton paper. Thank you. Chat's coming in huge here. Thank you, guys. You guys are the best. So it's wonton paper. You wet the edges. Then you put the filler in there. Then you basically seal it. Okay. Then you layer it with like butter. Then you cook it. Okay. And it comes out great. So I made that. And then I made beef fried rice too, didn't I? I made homemade beef fried rice. And then, yeah, I did that all one time. That's right, I did. Like 10 years ago. Right, I made shrimp lo mein, crab ragoons, and beef fried rice. This was like the most insane day in the kitchen. I think I was in the kitchen for like 6 hours, and I was loving it. And it was the most fun time ever. And then I made beef fried rice, which was simply you cook the beef, you cook the onions, then you add bean sprouts. Bean sprouts are my favorite part of beef fried rice. Beef fried rice is my favorite rice at a Chinese restaurant. Most people like pork. I like beef fried rice because they add the bean sprouts, and the bean sprouts are absolutely fantastic. So my mistake that I made was I threw those bean sprouts in too soon, and then they just dissolved. So I think the next time I did it, I didn't add that until later on. Now with the beef fried rice, it's just simply, I think it's just soy sauce was all I added. So you add you cook the rice separately, you saute the onions, the beef, throw it in, then at the end you throw in the bean sprouts, then just fry it up until it's good to go. I think I put too much soy sauce in that though. It's tough, but it can be complicated, but it's fun. It's fun. So those have been some of my cooking adventures over the years. Bean sprouts are fantastic. You know, I couldn't find them for the longest time in stores. Now all of a sudden I just see them all over the place. It's like I don't have any like almost like Asian markets that I can go to, you know, that have more of like predominantly Asian food that you can just walk into and say, okay, we got everything you need. You know what I mean? So I usually get a little competitive, not competitive. I challenge myself to kind of create what I can do. My grandmother was a very good cook, and my sisters are both very good cooks. Especially my youngest sister is a very, very good cook. My youngest sister makes baklava around the holidays, and she makes the thing like that thick, okay, and it is loaded with was it pecans or walnuts, whatever it is in there, and she loads it with that syrup, and it's like a double stacked. My grandmother was really good at it. I don't want to throw my grandmother under my bus. My grandmother was a good cook, but I think the thing about my sister is she amplifies it. She adds more of everything. And I think that's why my sister's is better than my grandmother's. And it almost feels like I'm committing a sin by saying my grandmother was not a perfect cook because she was a perfect cook. I just think my sister amplifies it by like doubling it. And it's honey, whatever she does, it's just bigger and badder and more flavorful than my grandmother's. My grandmother's was good. They were less sticky, but I like the stickiness to my sister's. Sure, her baklava is out of this world. It's just, I don't know who to compare it to, but it's just the best I've ever had. Okay. Now, one year on Christmas, she made, she took King's Hawaiian rolls, okay? This is what she did for we did a brunch one year. She goes, just make the eggs, just make the sausage, just make the hash browns, just make the eggs. I'm going to make a pumpkin cheesecake. Is that what it was? It was a pumpkin cheesecake. No. What was it? No, it was a pumpkin. Was it a pumpkin cheesecake French toast? Or was it a pumpkin French toast? I think it was a pumpkin cheesecake French toast. She made something like that. I think it was pumpkin cheesecake French toast, and she did this with King's Hawaiian rolls. This was unbelievable. This was unbelievable. Yeah, pumpkin sucks, Darcy says. That's all good. Everyone has their opinion. That's good. And their taste buds. I think it was like a pumpkin cheesecake French toast. This was phenomenal. All right. I love my sister's cooking, but what I hate about her is I can't find her to make these things enough. I don't see her that often. We just got busy lives. But oh my Lord, when she cooks and she has the time to cook, it's phenomenal. We had it for breakfast and we were just going crazy. I don't think we even had Christmas dinner. I think we had Christmas dinner like 2 hours later than normal that year because we just had so much of it in the morning. It was absolutely insane. But it was all this out of King's Hawaiian rolls. You know what I did recently with King's Hawaiian rolls? Since I was cheating on my diet a few times this summer, was I made Italian sub sliders. I think I posted this online actually, and I made Hawaiian Italian sub sliders, which was just nuts. And oh my Lord, was it crazy? I made that, and it was just I loaded it up with what I did was I made it with capicola, which is my favorite, Genoa salami. I went with bologna. Most people like the mortadella. Now, I got not a debate, but someone said to me, make it with mortadella. So I usually do make it with mortadella, but here's the problem with my local supermarket is I don't buy the deli meats as much as I used to anymore. And because I changed my diet up so much over the years, but I know that there's not many people like me in my area that are going to buy specific Italian deli meat. So the mortadella sits there on that counter. So by the time you have this mortadella, it doesn't taste right. It tastes more rubbery. It doesn't taste as tasteful. It's not as soft and juicy, and it just tastes bad. So what I do is I substitute bologna. So I go with capicola. I want capicola, Genoa salami, bologna. I think I had a fourth meat on. Oh, pepperoni. When I used to eat at Subway a long time ago, I always liked their BMTs. Genoa salami and pepperoni. So for me, I go with those four. Genoa salami, pepperoni, bologna substituting for mortadella, and then Genoa salami. It is phenomenal. Okay, so I go with all of those. So I layer it down, and then I make a vegetable mix. Now, in this vegetable mix, I add in, one second. I add in lettuce, tomatoes, onions. I slice up pickles. I usually get like those deli pickles that are like spears or whatever, and I dice them up, and those are phenomenal. And then I mixed in like a little bit of mayonnaise, a little touch of mayonnaise, and let me see if I got the video here. Let's see if I got it. One sec. Please. Oh, I got it. Oh, I do got it. Oh, here it is. I found it. I had to go to Google to search for it on my own profile. Here we go. Okay, there's a second one. Let's see. Let me duplicate this window and then go back. This is going to be the other one. This is going to be the right one. Let's see. Yep, here we go. All right, we got it. Okay, let me share this. Here we go. All right, let's take a look here. So we got, oh, you know what I'm doing wrong? I'm not supposed to share on X because the pictures don't get large enough. Let's do it this way. We got to open this up in a new tab. Okay, so open it up in a new tab, then open it up in a new tab. There we go. All right, this is what we want to do. All right. Then we're going to take the zoom size down to about 100. Here we go. All right, now we're going to get this on the screen. One sec. Okay, and let's share again. Here we go. All right, so this is the finished product out of the oven right there. Is this not? Share this. Is this not the right tab? Feels like it should be. Oh, okay, do this. Okay, there we go. All right, so what I did was I slit the King's Hawaiian rolls in half, toasted it up, loaded it up with the meats, and then what I did was, let me share this tab instead. What I did was I made this mix. So on this mix is lettuce, tomatoes, onions, pickles, and then I mixed in like red hot peppers from Jersey Mike's, and a little bit of mayonnaise, and then some mustard. And I think I threw in some Italian dressing and some red wine too. And I mixed it all up in a bowl, threw it in the fridge for like 15 minutes, let it marinate for a bit. And then when I came out, and I topped it. So this is the bread and the meat was in the oven for a while. Then I take it out when it's ready, and then I top it. And it's topped with all that stuff. Yeah, I've been going a little crazy lately, but it's been awesome. That's all I gotta say. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, I know what you're talking. I can't remember the name, but I've had that, and it's phenomenal. That olive combo. It comes in a jar. Price Chopper has it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've had that before. It's like an olive salad. That is actually phenomenal for something like this. It is absolutely phenomenal when you have that. But yeah, it's good. Really, really, really good. So this has been the best 30 minutes of your day. That's awesome. Yeah, cooking with Mazza. Yeah, cooking with Mazza. Everyone's been saying, like, do a cooking show. I'm like, yeah, maybe we'll do a cooking show. I think I might just do like cooking videos from time to time and start putting them on the channel just to kind of add it. You know, it's fun. It's fun. Then people can post about their cooking ventures as well, and we can all have a good time. But yeah, it's great. It's great. My funniest ever fudge story. So here's this is one of my biggest blunders of all time. So I used to take foods classes in high school, and I wanted to make fudge a couple of years ago. I don't remember how long this is. It might have been like 6, 7, 8 years ago. So I wanted to make fudge homemade. It's just like I did with my ice cream. I just wanted to make homemade. So in high school, you know, as I don't bake ever, right? So I hadn't baked since I was in high school. And this is like, I don't know, long decade and a half, 2 decades later, I don't know. So I want fudge. So I go out, I get everything, fluff, chocolate, everything I need to make it. So I cook it, and it comes out, it looks perfect. All of a sudden, I grab a piece of it, and I'm like, oh my God, it tastes like pure salt. This is disgusting. It almost felt like the fudge was melting in my hand. It was horrible. And I said, what the hell went wrong with this? There's way too much salt in this. So I realized I made a critical mistake. It's now a cooking show, Joe Biffle. This was about true crime. This show today has been about a lot of things. This has been about true crime. It's been about Karen Reed. It's been about Turtle Boy. This has been a sports show. Now this has become a cooking show. We have changed gears. This is like the way MazzaMedia used to be. We just talk about sports, movies, and just change topics. This is a classic MazzaMedia episode if I ever saw one. So we've done true crime. We've done sports. Now we're on to cooking. Okay. So it's salty. It's horrible. I'm like, what the hell have I done wrong? I realized something, that I made a critical miscalculation with the salt. Obviously, it's the salt. Obviously, all the other measurements that were put into this thing were absolutely, thank you, Jimmy. I like that comment. A very well-rounded, informative show. So the salt, there's too much. Okay, so I realized what I did. Ready for this? I misinterpreted the measurements of the salt. But I did not necessarily misinterpret the measurement per se. So if it said 1/4 or 1/2 or whatever, I didn't misinterpret that. But it was the tools that I was using to measure it that caused this incredible blunder. So I was so used to using measuring cups, like water cups, to add to rice all the time in those years, that I filled a measuring cup halfway. Actually, no, I didn't. No, that's not true. No. That's not how I did it. I misinterpreted the silver spoons, the little ones that have measuring. I misinterpreted those for the ones that are like cups, like half cup. They're like the serving things, whatever that was. Okay. So I used the cups instead of the spoons, and I doused it with the cup with salt instead of using those spoons. And it didn't hit me till after I messed up. Allison, by the way, Allison, if you emailed me, that was you that emailed me. I read your question on the show to Mark Bederow. It's about an hour and 4 minutes into the show. I believe an hour and 4 minutes into the show. I read your comment. So I used those little, the little cup things instead of the spoons. And I was like, oh man. Yeah, the teaspoons or whatever. The teaspoons, the tablespoon. They use those little cup things, measuring cups. So I go, damn it. So I threw the whole thing out, went back to the store, bought it all again. Next time I made it, it was perfect. Came out absolutely perfect. Take 2, measuring cups. Yeah, I used measuring cups instead of measuring spoons. That's what it was. That's where I went wrong. So whatever was like a half or a fourth, I used it in cups instead of spoons. And that caused the blunder. All right. So take 2 was perfect. The fudge the second time, incredibly great tasting fudge. Absolutely phenomenal. No complaints whatsoever. So it was because I hadn't baked in so long that I forgot what I was taught in high school to some degree, at least enough of a degree where the saltiness of my fudge was not as sweet as it should have been. It wasn't even salvageable. There was too much salt. All right. Pretty much, Glenn, like, pretty much the time it was funny. It was funny, but yeah, it's interesting stuff. So, all right. Well, that was a fun talk. It was a great show. We did 3 hours, 20 minutes tonight. Mark Bederow was on for about 2 hours, 45 minutes with us, 50 minutes with us. Talked Karen Reed. We talked Turtle Boy. We talked sports. We talked cooking. We talked making homemade ice cream, kebabs, all that good stuff. It was a great talk today, guys. And then just to cook hot dogs, just cook them, grill them, boil them, pan fry them. Easy. We don't need no stinking measuring cups, Joe Biffle. You're right, sir. You're absolutely right. Thank you, Darcy. I enjoyed the show. I felt like I got in a better rhythm. About 30 minutes in, definitely felt I got in a much better rhythm and with the show and asking questions. So it was good. Mark did a great job as always. He's always perfection on every show. And Patriots next Sunday, Darcy. You're right. 1 week away. It's going to be a good one too. I'm hoping they win. I'm looking forward to the Patriots this year. I hope they have a great season. And you guys have a great Labor Day tomorrow. Hopefully you guys don't have to work. And hopefully you guys have a great day. You guys cook out, have a great one, and all that good stuff. So, guys, take care of yourselves. Karen Reed's free to the Free Turtle Boy. I think Wilbur Theater tickets are still available as well if you guys are looking to go there in Boston. Take a look at Ticketmaster for Turtle Boy tickets. And other than that, guys, have a great weekend. Have a great weekend. Be awesome. Show love. And show love to each other. And be awesome. Live life. And I might do another 3.5-mile walk tomorrow. We'll see. So, guys, have a great one. Scott McGinnis, shout out to you, sir. Jenna, thanks for modding. Hit me up. She's serious about the cooking. Hit me up. Pizza on the Grill sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. I got to start watching the U.S. Open a little bit, too. I haven't been watching that much. But Debbie Blair, shout out to you. Hope you're doing well. Noodles, I'm glad I got your question to Mark for you today. And, guys, that's it. Have a great night. Thank you. Happy Labor Day. Enjoy your day off if you got it. If you got to work, I'm sorry. I hope you guys have some kind of great moment in your day that can kind of compensate for having to work all day. It sucks, I know. Having to work on holidays can be rough, but we've all done it at some point in our lives. But Kelly Reed's been here. Kelly Reed, take care of yourself. We love you, and I hope you're doing well, Kelly. All right, take care of yourself. God bless you and your family. We love you, Kelly, to death. So, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. MazzaMedia. I am Mark. Thank you, guys. All right.